Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Done properly, podcasting is a heroic act. Done properly.
Not here.
Nope.
Nope.
No, we're a couple villains here. That's what we are. Couple rapscallions.
You know what that was?
What?
You showing what a great job Brad Bird does as the voice of Edna Mode.
Okay,
I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, like, it's not as easy as it sounds to do a funny voice.
But I think that wasn't...
Spilled ice.
And for the listener at home, apparently it's not as easy as it seems to not knock a cup of ice onto Ben's
Two little
mixing
chips
board.
of ice.
It's fine. It's fine.
Could have been worse.
A Dunkin' Donuts cup with nothing but ice
Well,
directly onto a mixing board.
Yep.
Yellow card.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. This is what I like. We're going to get regimented here. We're going to get serious about this podcast.
Oh, there's going to be a card system?
Yes, because
you would collect like 8 red cards an episode.
David, I have been avoiding having this conversation.
Throwing up. Red card.
I feel like you have gotten too lax, too loose.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Because of your wild, erratic behavior.
True. Right.
This podcast has gone off the rails, and we have to start regulating it.
Okay.
Okay? So Ben's instituted a card system that is never going to bite me in the ass. Starting on this episode, cards will be handed out for infractions. I expect to have a goose egg.
Sure.
By the end of the year. A
duck.
goose egg in terms of, what do they call it? What in bowling?
Yeah, is goose egg bowling?
No, goose eggs. It's an egg that comes out of a goose. I mean, like what? Not
fair enough. Good point.
Not a spare. What do they call it when you get nothing in bowling? I expect to have no cards. That's my point.
No, I understand
I'm making.
now. I'm just trying.
I don't want to
remember.
go on about this too long because that could get me an infraction. I don't want one. No cards.
Yeah.
For the record, David has one yellow card.
Like
Hello,
a
everybody.
A gutter?
Yeah, gutter. I don't know. Hi, everybody.
In cricket, they call it a duck.
My God, it's like you're cruising for a card right now.
You lost yourself.
Fucking brought up the United Kingdom already.
Why?
Why is that weird for you to bring up? It's the World
whatever.
Cup. Everyone's talking about a bunch of countries.
Exactly, and that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's odd that he would make such a point about him bringing up a thing that anyone would bring up.
Yeah, it just seems like a tangent. And
David, I'm testing the limits of the card system.
Watch yourself.
No tangents. All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Griffin Newman.
David Sims.
I'm filing papers here like a serious newsman.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because my name is now going to be Griffin Newsman.
Great new character.
Thank you. This podcast. This is a podcast.
This is a podcast.
I've been listening back to episodes because I've been filming a TV show, which no one should do. And,
bad idea.
So I've been listening to these episodes from months ago without recording new episodes.
Me too.
And it is astonishing how much I don't clearly pronounce any of the words in the introduction anymore.
Yeah,
I just barrel through. I go, this is a filmography director and of course a miniseries called The Podcastables.
Yes, we're looking at directors' filmographies.
Oh, I just said all of that.
Yeah, of course.
Clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Miniseries on the films of Brad Bird, and this is the final question mark
You think this is it? He's out.
No, I'm teasing something later.
Making
we'll reveal
the
later.
highest.
I'm teasing something that we'll reveal later.
Okay.
This is
The final
Incredibles
Brad
2.
Bird episode. Yes.
The most recent Brad Bird film. A film so recent. Oh, it's hot off the presses. It's
Just
breaking
came
box
out.
office records as we speak.
Yeah.
Biggest opening weekend for an animated film. Biggest Monday for an animated film. Biggest Tuesday for an animated film.
Probably the highest grossing animated film ever made, right? Like, I'm assuming
It will easily.
it's following the Dory path, so
Yeah,
it'll beat it.
It's zooming past it.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, Disney is going to have like 3 films gross over $500 million domestically within 4 months.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's the thing. They released a giant flop, and they're just sort of like, whatever.
Well, because
It wasn't a giant flop. It was a moderate
But
flop.
that was the thing. Like, looking at the schedule last year, it was like, Jesus Christ. Disney has Black Panther, Infinity War, Solo, and Incredibles all coming out within like 4 months. They're going to have $4 billion movies.
Right. And so they have 3.
They have 3.
Yeah. And that I was talking to a Disney person not that long ago, and I was like, but then after Incredibles, like, you know, it's a little bit of a gap, right, between that and the Winnie the Pooh movie. And they were like, no, there's Ant-Man like 3 weeks later. And I was
Yeah.
like, right, like that's going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
You know, it's just never ends.
And I think I want to go on the record here. I think Winnie the Pooh is going to break the opening weekend record for a movie written by a former Blank Check guest.
Shit, I think you're right. I think
Right?
it's also going to smash the Pooh universe. I don't know. Yes, you're right. You're totally right.
Right? Because
the
number
prior
2?
record is, I don't know what, like, Listen Up Philip probably opened like 200K.
Yeah.
I don't want to misrepresent.
know.
Don't get mad at me, Alex.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I forgot about Trolls.
Oh, that's true. His Trolls.
Oh, yeah,
Richard Lawson's Trolls.
Listen Up Philip opened at 23K. So if anything, I was overinflating.
Yeah.
You know, in 2 theaters.
Yeah, I think
Not
Pooh's
bad.
going to clear that.
You think so? You think it'll
Yeah.
be okay?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
This is Incredibles 2. It's burning up the charts, but what do we think about it? Because we're connoisseurs of context, and we've been digging into this bird filmography, or at least we did dig into this bird filmography 4.5
Months
years ago.
We're
when
talking
we
about like
recorded
Ready
these
Player
episodes.
One on those episodes.
Yeah.
We're like, interesting. Could be good. Who knows? We're literally like speculating on the quality of a movie that just like posted a trailer.
Don't we, in the Iron Giant episode, comment on Disney having just bought Star Wars?
What are they going to do with that property?
Yeah.
I've actually appreciated listening back to our bird episodes, which you did record. We did record it a while ago because, it helped me think about this movie.
Yeah, certainly.
Certainly.
But it is weird, as you said, when we were recording these episodes, there was like a teaser trailer for Incredibles.
Right.
And now the movie's here. I think you like it a lot more than I do.
I think so because you ranked it below Finding Dory.
Now, here's the thing.
On the Twitter.com.
Here's the thing.
And I saw that and I was like, that's what I
But
did. I made that noise.
Alec Baldwin, here's the thing.
No.
I like Finding Dory a lot more than most people. So I think
weird.
people saw that ranking and were like, oh, God, he hates it that much?
Sure.
Which it's like far from it. I think it's on the exact same tier as Monsters University and Finding Dory.
Right.
3 movies I like a lot. I think are solid, interesting sequels to like perfect movies.
Right. I think we have. I mean, this is the thing. I was like, Pixar rankings. You know,
Right.
to me, this is the 3rd best Pixar movie ever made.
That's insane.
Right. I mean, but like, that's basically how I feel about this stuff.
Behind the
Right.
2 Brad Bird movies.
Yeah.
But
I'm like,
you're
the 3
much
Brad
more of
Bird
a Brad
movies
Bird
they
fan
are
than-
the Brad Bird. Right. They are the Pixar movies for me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I like Toy Story.
Well, yeah. I mean,
great.
Can we be very clear about that?
Sure. Let's be frank.
Okay.
Like
be
Toy Story
Woody,
2.
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
The Perfect Movie, the greatest
what-
pinnacle of American cinema.
And then, I think Finding Nemo is really pretty. I like the Pete Docter movies, like by and large, but I don't think I love them. I like them a lot.
I'm getting so angry just hearing.
And
you
then I
say
really like Wall-E. Right? I was
Right.
like, there's one other Pixar movie I really do think is terrific, and that's
Masterpiece.
Wall-E.
It's
Yeah.
called Wall-E.
Right.
It's about a rabbit.
Yeah, it is. It's about a couple of rabbits.
It's
Let's be
rabbits in
honest.
love.
Let's be frank.
Young rabbits in love. I come at this from a very different angle from you because I'm not just looking at these films within the Bird canon, but also the Pixar canon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested in the arc of Pixar as a company, which we've talked about a lot on this miniseries.
We have?
Yeah. And, the thing I find frustrating about them right now is I'm very interested to see. I mean, at the time we were recording this, Pete Docter was just announced within the last 48 hours to be taking over Pixar.
Seems like an appropriate hire.
Yeah.
Right? He's institutional.
Yes.
He's, I don't know. I feel like he pushes to make interesting things. And,
I do too.
Right? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't immediately see what will happen next with him taking over, but I think he's
probably
a solid
nothing
choice.
immediately, right?
Right.
Yeah. Because
I'm saying I can't immediately imagine what the next 5 years will look like.
what do they got coming up, Pixar?
Well, it's like a kind of a question mark. I mean, Toy Story 4 is supposed to come out next year.
Yep.
They hired a new writer 2 months ago to rewrite most of the movie.
Right.
That thing, which we'll get into, has been pushed back a lot. They've gone through many writing teams.
Right. And then
Lasseter was supposed to direct it. He dropped out before getting pushed out of his own company.
Right. So Josh Cooley is directing it.
Who's just sort of like a Pixar career man. Is like a good Pixar story guy. I think has co-directed a couple of their films. But then there's a Dan Scanlon, am I fucking up his name, who directed Monsters University?
I believe that's his name.
Has an original film that's set in like a fantasy universe that still hasn't officially been announced.
But they have 2 untitled films in 2020.
Right. I think one of those is supposed to be the Scanlan movie, and the other one hasn't been announced.
2 more, another one for 2021.
Right.
And then 2 more for, but this is
But
right.
at this
It's
point,
all
that's
a mystery.
more Disney just claiming dates.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which they might, if replace one of those with Mulan or whatever. You know, it's like it's all a chessboard for them of just making sure they have all the prime sort of like tentpole dates. It's a big question mark. The one thing they keep on saying in interviews is, because people have complained about how many sequels they've made recently, like looking forward, Pixar, Toy Story 4 is the only sequel Pixar has in development right now. Mm-hmm. They claim that there's
sort
a
of
spate of original
sequels.
films coming up.
Well, right, because they don't have a lot of obvious sequels they could do now.
No.
I mean, I guess they could do like Finding Marlin. I don't fucking know. Like,
I mean, honestly, like
finding that
doing
starfish.
Incredibles 3 seems more viable than any of the other
Well,
ones.
Incredibles 3 it feels logic. Like it feels
Yes.
like a movie that actually should exist, because these movies feel a lot more like there's this big story being told.
Right.
Whereas it's like if they made a Finding Dory sequel, it would be like, wait, the ocean, we got to find something. Like, it's not like Finding Dory ends where you're like, I can't wait to find out like where this goes.
No, and I was one of those people who was really angry when they announced Finding Nemo, because I'm like, I
Finding
think that's,
Nemo? You mean Dory?
I'm sorry. When they announced Dory,
Yeah.
I was very angry because
Nemo ends.
perfect.
Great ending.
And I was just like, fucking book closed, put it on the
Right.
shelf, done.
Right.
Was angry about it. Hearing it's Finding Dory is like, that just sounds like a dumb flip.
Yeah.
And there are things in that movie that drive me crazy. I think the first 30 minutes suck.
I think it's not great.
I know
it's
you don't like it.
Gentleman's 6 territory, like at best.
I think it's like a Gentleman's 7.5.
That's what you think this is too?
Correct.
Boy, oh boy. That's no good. All right, go on,
And
go
I think
on.
Monsters University is about the same. I think the difference is the last 30 minutes of Monsters University are brilliant.
Which you've never talked about on this podcast.
Never.
Yeah.
Finding Dory, I do go like, you know what? I think they actually found some good angles to it, and I think they came up with some things that actually deepen the first movie in an interesting way, which is the same thing I like about Monsters University. It's not super necessary, but I think they found the most interesting sequel they can make.
I just can't remember anything about Finding Dory. Like, I really can't.
Sounds like you got a Dory.
Oh, boy. Now, wait.
Okay,
no,
now let's do.
excuse
Wait, I'm sorry.
me.
Take 6. Sounds like you have a bit of a Dory problem there.
And before we get into this movie,
But do you get the joke I was making?
memory issues.
Okay, now take 27. Maybe you should have the inside out emotions help you with that one, because they have the memory balls. Do you remember that?
Ben, just bleep that out for his sake. Right.
I'm very
he's
close.
He's got
Well, no, he's holding up a card.
I'm very close.
Okay, I'm sorry. Cut all the takes. Cut it out.
All right, no, I just
Don't
wanted
make
one
me
more,
have
one
more
more
work.
Pixar question.
Yes.
What do you think of Cars 3?
Well, here's the thing that I find interesting.
David, you too? You know where this is going to go.
Now, Commissioner, Commissioner, do I have to answer the question now that he's asked? Will I get an infraction for answering the
The
question?
fans are baying for him to answer this question
Answer
right now.
the question.
Cars 2 makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1.
Is that what it is? I literally couldn't even remember.
It took me a second because I didn't want to get a red card for mangling my own joke.
I don't think any of us would remember.
I just think the big Pixar problem is that people talk a lot about how Lasseter kind of created a boys' club environment there, which he literally did in terms of just not letting women rise up to higher positions of power.
Yep.
But the other problem is he has his old friends that he brought with him, and he did not incubate new talent
Right, he
in a
trusts
major way.
his old guys, and he struggled to. But
Right.
they did have, like they have that system where it's like Unkrich is a co-director, and he gets sort of kicked up to direct. Right, like they do.
But Unkrich was there
nominally.
from Toy Story.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And most of
I
those
know.
guys didn't rise through the ranks. Like Bob Peterson, who was one of their big story guys and co-directors forever, developed Good Dinosaur, got pushed off of it. Jan Pinkova was a similar thing.
I know, yeah.
And there are a
That's
lot of
true.
guys like that. Like,
There's a little sink or swim over there.
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's a Silicon
Ralph
Valley
Eggleston.
company.
There are all these guys who have been there since like 1995. And you also have a lot of guys like, what's his name? Doug Sweetland, who is one of their best animators, who did Presto.
Sure.
And everyone's
Great.
like,
love Presto.
when are they going to hand him a movie?
So funny.
He's been there since the beginning. When are they going to hand him a movie?
Oh boy, we got to talk about Bao.
We'll talk about Bao.
Oh boy, did you see that dumpling movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Cronenbergian. No. It's fine. No, we'll keep your opinion. We'll talk about
What
it.
happens to Doug Sweetland?
I don't know.
He goes over and makes storks for Warner Brothers.
Oof.
They let all these guys get
Worse
away,
than death.
and then they made shitty movies at other
People
studios.
kind of like storks.
I guess. I don't
I
know.
don't know. Do people like? I don't remember.
I tried
It's about
watching it
storks.
because I like Sweetland. But like they just weren't giving these people opportunities. And if they did, it was like, congratulations, you get to make Cars 3. Like you get to inherit
Right.
someone else's franchise, you know? So there is this weird factor of like they don't have new original movies being developed because Pete Docter was the only guy who was still there. Stanton and Bird felt like they kind of wanted to move on and then had to come back and like, okay, I guess I go back to my original franchise at Pixar, the movie I know I can get made with total creative freedom, you know?
Yeah.
And this is kind of, it feels like that movie for Bird. This is the safe rebound.
Yep.
He also, he had said for years and years and years, because everyone's always asking, when are you going to make Incredibles 2?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make a sequel for the sake of making a sequel.
Sure.
I'll make it when I have a great idea.
Feels like Brad Bird.
Yep.
That's sort of the Bird move.
Felt a little convenient that great idea came to him right after Tomorrowland bombed.
Sure. Yes. And yet, this movie does feel like he's wrestling with the Tomorrowland shit again.
I agree.
So I do, even if it maybe he had to make this movie now,
Yeah.
I do feel like he's like, I still got all that Tomorrowland juice I want to sort out.
Tomorrowland and Incredibles 2 kind of feel like two sides of the same coin
I
for
agree.
me.
I agree.
And
not in terms of quality, just in terms of ideas. This is a better movie than Tomorrowland.
yeah, but
But I like Tomorrowland.
yeah, I mean, look, I re-listened to our Tomorrowland episode and was
Great app.
even myself astonished when we got to a gentleman's B+.
Well,
I was like, wait,
I
we
was
did?
I was talking to my brother about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I love the episode, but I do feel like I like the movie more than you. And I was like, no, we both like the movie. It's just if you talk about the movie, you just have to acknowledge all the shit that doesn't work about it.
And listening to
And
us,
yet it's
right.
such a special, weird movie that
Right.
you do kind of like it.
And I kind of like the fact that it's fucking broken
Yeah.
in its own weird way.
ass
Right,
broken robot.
right. But like listening to the episode, listening to us talk about all the problems with it, I was like, this movie's a disaster. But then I think
Yeah,
back to how I
it's
feel
so weird,
watching it,
though.
and I'm like, he is just such a symphonic filmmaker.
It
I
has
remember
moments where you're like,
what was the season where 30 Rock was kind of shaky? Was it like 4 or 5
Yeah, I think
where they had
4.
like a really off season?
Sure.
And I remember Nathan Rabin writing this piece about it where he was like, the problem is that like 30 Rock is so well made. The cast is so good. It's well shot. The music is good that even when it's bad, it's just fucking enjoyable to watch, which also makes it more frustrating when the writing isn't there,
right.
when it feels like they're off. And like Brad Bird is kind of like that, where he's just such a symphonic filmmaker that like even when Tomorrowland is like completely like it's like a Tesla catching on fire underneath the hood,
Right.
you're like, but this thing looks so good, it feels smooth, and I'm told that it's good for the environment, you know? Have you seen that video of like Mary McDonald's?
I have.
Insane.
Yeah, it's fun.
But that's the thing, and I feel like so I had this thing watching Incredibles 2, right? And I admit, I'm in the midst of filming. No one should make a TV show. I'm very stressed out right
you're
now.
all stressed out.
I'm very
we're
stressed
going to
out.
talk about this, but yeah, okay. So where did you see it? Did you see it at Diaper Cinema?
I didn't see it at the Diaper Cinema.
Okay, fine.
Saw it at the Ewok in Times Square.
With great theater now.
Great
with the
theater
little
now, great
desks.
seats. I had my little
Love that
desk.
theater. Love that theater.
I got the seat I wanted.
that
I
theater
saw
is like kind of secretly the best multiplex.
it's
in
sort
New
of
York
become
City.
very recently the best one.
Yeah.
I got a perfect seat. I saw it in 2D. The crowd was a good mix of adults and families.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's like, well, I don't want to see a Pixar movie just with fucking kids, but I also don't want to see a Pixar movie just with fucking grown-ups. Ben, of course, nailed it by seeing a Pixar movie just with fucking teenagers.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm also about to turn 33 years old.
Congratulations, birthday Benny.
Yeah.
A.k.a. the Ben Deucer,
When this
a.k.a.
comes
Producer
out-
Ben, a.k.a.
Oh, no, okay.
Poet Laureate
Yeah.
at the Haas.
When this comes out, it'll
Mr.
be
Positive,
officially
our
my
finest film critic,
birthday.
tiebreaker. Fart detective, the meat lover.
I was surrounded by high
Hello,
school
Fennel.
kids,
Dirtbag
feeling
Benny.
very much like my
Sucking
own,
my Benny, White Hot
aware of
Benny.
my own mortality, and it just was really hard to hear like
Teeter.
teens sort of teetering and snickering
Fuckmaster, don't call him Professor
amongst
Christie.
themselves.
Graduated certain titles over the course of different research. It's a Kyle
is
Ben,
fine.
Producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Ben Say anything,
I
Alien
was
Dance
able
with a dollar
to
sign.
enjoy the movie
Ben 19, the
nonetheless,
filmmaker.
and
English.
got
Pretty
out of
Bane.
there pretty quick.
But you did
But I
text
was
us.
self-aware.
You texted us like
Well,
going in grumpy. I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly.
I
what,
hate
yeah.
teenagers.
Going in with a bad attitude, bunch of teens around
I'm
me.
so old.
I felt very like weird as just an old guy by himself sitting, amongst the children.
Mr. Ben Credible.
Yeah.
I sat there. I was like, I think I've created the best circumstances I can
you're
to
like,
see this
seems
movie.
like a good vibe, right?
And I sat there the whole time. There was never a moment that made me angry the way that Tomorrowland makes me angry. But I will also say there was not a moment where the movie felt transcendent for me.
Okay.
So I sat there the entire time being like, this is good. He's not fucking it up. I'm waiting for it to click into that bird magic. And instead, the magic for me was just good filmmaker. This movie's smooth. But I came out of it and was just like, I kind of feel like that script doesn't totally come together. And it feels a little bit to me like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Temple of Doom, I
But
find...
Temple of Doom comes to... My problem with Temple of Doom, I think the last half hour is good. It's more the getting there is a little rocky. Like, once you're on the minecart and shit, like, you know...
That's kind of what I...
Rescuing the kids.
That's what I feel about, like, with this movie is, like, great set pieces.
Yeah. Great action.
This movie
Story
certainly...
didn't work for you.
It doesn't have a Willie Scott. It doesn't have a short round. It doesn't have characters that make me want to pull my eyes out of my head. But...
Seems like a weird comparison to make them.
I'm like, this is a really good filmmaker.
Yeah.
Constructing really good entertainment. There are sections with ideas that I find really interesting. It sort of ends in a place that feels satisfying.
Right.
I don't really know what this movie amounts to. I read you after seeing it a second time.
So I'll talk
coming up
about
with your
my
pitch, which I
experience.
wanna hear.
Right. I talked
Right.
about the movie, right,
Yeah.
on Twitter.com, like an idiot.
Yeah.
Which is mostly just the website for feeling bad.
Morons.
Morons.
It's a website for morons. Yeah.
Prego.
Moranos.
Yeah, no, but so here's where, all right, so I saw it at a press screening.
Humble brag.
I was with mother of Blanky's Emily Yoshida.
Congratulations.
And I think it
on
was
her
with
recent
Richard.
marriage.
Yes, well, that's going to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was with Emily and Richard, our two favorite guests. We saw it together.
Our mommy and our daddy.
Exactly. We saw it at the Lincoln Square
She
AMC.
got married to Richard Lawson, by the way.
Sure, I'll do it. Saw it at the Lincoln Square AMC.
Not a great theater.
Look,
Certain screens are great. Did you see it in the Dolby Prime?
No, we saw it in a bad theater. Like, and I'm not but like, yeah, the big theaters at the AMC are a great experience. The small theaters, they're still like inside. You know, there's plenty of seats, but they're kind of crummy. Picture was out of focus.
Oh,
Just at first, bad.
uh-huh.
I rush off. I say, "Hey, picture's out of focus." And they're like, "Oh, you know," like it's always a little weird, especially with press screenings, because they don't even really know who to bother.
And they like 85% fix
And then
it.
they fix it, but it's still a little
I've had
off.
this, and it drives me insane.
And it drives me crazy.
Absolutely not.
So,
Especially because you know how meticulous Bird is. And this is like when I walked
And
in
it
my
was
screening of Phantom Thread because I was like, I can't watch a movie about a guy
who's so
being
meticulous,
persnickety
right?
that's 5% projected wrong.
So, and you know, it's one of those things where the whole time I'm like, is it just back in focus? And I'm just like in my head about this,
Yeah.
you know, like so the whole time I'm a little off. And I watched the movie. I kind of had the same reaction as you, where I was like, the action in this thing just fucking is great.
Yeah. And there's so many character beats and story beats I love.
Yeah.
I can't add it all up.
But I am just like, it's like, there's so many ideas.
Yes.
And there's like scenes like the screenslaver, like monologue, things like that, where I'm like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. I can't. And I get very buzzy and excited about movies like this. Like this Star Wars. This is like a Star Wars level movie where I'm just like sitting there being like, I hope this is good. Like, and I'm nervous.
See, this was my most anticipated movie of the year.
Sure. My most anticipated blockbuster of the year, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I always walk out and I'm just like, I think I like that. Oh my God. Like, whew.
Yeah.
So.
And you texted me and you said, he
It's
didn't
great.
fuck it up.
Yeah. He
It's
didn't phone
really
it in.
weird.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
And I went, that's exciting.
Sure.
Right. He didn't phone it in was the big thing you said. Yeah.
Because I was really worried about it, like
just being on rails.
Yeah.
And I would always prefer a movie like this that's trying for too much than a movie that's like fine, just sort of getting in and getting
exactly.
out.
Just
Yeah.
you know. So then, this weekend I went to Emily's wedding in North Carolina,
Humble
which
brag.
was wonderful. And on the way back, we drove because I'm a maniac.
Double humble brag.
And on the way back,
Who did you drive with?
my girlfriend.
Humble bag, triple brag.
Humble bag,
can't
triple
speak.
bag. What the fuck?
I meant
That's a
to
yellow
say
card.
humble brag. Can I make my case?
All right, okay.
I meant to say Ben's holding up the card like he's threatening me. I meant to say humble brag hat trick. Now, in my defense, I'm sleep deprived. I've been burning the candle at both ends. I don't think that would have been a
Spending too
great
much
joke.
time justifying
God damn
jokes. Yellow card.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
you know he's right though. God, this is why he's the commish.
He's right. This is why he's the commish, and now that's a new nickname.
God damn it!
He should give us both like triple red cards. You're giving him a new nickname.
And what if we also add Michael Chiklis as one of his new nicknames?
Yeah, of course. The chick.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the way back, driving up from NC, we stop over in like suburban DC, like in Virginia, Northern Virginia. And I'm like, oh, there's like an Alamo here. We went to Nando's, which is like my favorite chain restaurant that's only down in DC. Like it's big deal in
Right. You got the chicken sandwich?
UK. No, I got a half chicken, peri peri fries, garlic bread, Peronaise. I love it all, man. And we went to see it at the Alamo at this like huge suburban Alamo.
Wait a second. I'm sorry.
Did you say Bernays?
No, something before that, Ben.
Peronaise.
Just, I want to investigate this because this seems like a potential.
Mayo with peri peri spice. It's real good.
Commissioner?
Yes.
I want to investigate this because it seems like a potential yellow card.
Go on.
You said they have locations in the UK?
So many.
But how would you know that?
I mean, he's probably traveled there,
I've traveled
vacation.
That's weird that he would eat fast food during a vacation.
That's
would he want to have
true.
higher cuisine? You know, it's just sort
I
of like when in
literally
Rome
make it
thing.
a point to eat at Nando's as much as possible when I go back to the UK.
Go back. Commissioner, permission to follow through on this?
Follow through.
What do you mean go back? That would imply that's a place.
That I used to live. That's right. I used to live in the United Kingdom for 13 years of my life.
my
It's never
God.
been talked about on this podcast before, but it's time to talk about it.
Yellow card. Keep your secrets.
Now I want the fans to keep track of how many yellow and red cards are distributed.
Comedy points are done. It's all about the cards now, baby.
Now I want to point also in soccer, I think it's 2 yellow cards is a red card and you're out. So this is clearly a different system.
It's a very different
Maybe
system.
there'll be other colors. I don't know.
Also, I want to give Ben 5 comedy points for the card system.
Really good. Really good. There are about 280 Nando's in the UK.
Wow.
There are 5 in America, all near DC.
Jeez. Okay.
So I went to this gorgeous
draft
big
house.
theater, great sound, full audience, like kind of like you, like good mix. It was Sunday, this Sunday, and and then that's when I was
totally
like,
clicked
okay,
for you.
all right, now I think I settled into the story. These scenes popped out of me where it always helps to see a movie too once you know what the twists are and you sort of like can think about the themes a little more.
And I'll say this too. I always feel like it's rough for me to formulate my thoughts on a Pixar movie the first time because the Pixar movies are the ones I've seen more than anything else.
Yeah, it's
So
like what's a Pixar movie that's like risen for you over the years? Well, Ratatouille, you said.
It's risen wildly for me.
Yeah,
I mean,
fun.
at the time of its release, I would have put it maybe second to last. And now I put it maybe third.
To last. It's gone up 1.
No, it's like third or fourth for me. I think that ranking I did the other day, it was fourth.
It's numero uno for me.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, they're constantly shifting for me, which is why I do my ranking every time there's a new one, because in the year in between, I've rewatched like most of them again, you know?
I'm trying to find your rankings. I'm just going to sift through all the fucking retweets of misery from you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've heard about it, but the world's bad.
It's not so good.
No.
World
In fact, I would
equals
say-
poo-poo, as you said on the Tomorrowland episode.
Yeah. No good, very bad. Don't do it.
Yeah, you got Toy Story 2, Incredibles, Toy Story, Wall-E, Ratatouille as your top 5.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a solid top
I think
5.
that's a good 5. I think that's a gentleman's 5.
And then you got Nemo,
I'd give
Monsters, Coco.
I'd give my 5 a gentleman's 10.
See, I actually like your basic order here. I think
Yeah.
Bug's Life should be above Toy Story 3, but apart from that,
Those are pretty close for me.
You got to like Nemo, Monsters, Coco, Inside Out. That seems like that all flows nicely for me.
You buy that. And then you get into...
And then you're in the sequels and
You think I
Cars.
overrank some of the second tier stuff.
Oh, for sure. And you also
You would put a lot of my second tier stuff into third tier. That's where we disagree.
Well, you don't. Your only third tier is Cars 2. Your
Correct.
entire third
That's
tier is
the
Cars
big
2.
right. That's the big shift. Is you would put a lot of other movies around there,
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the sequels,
but also Cars
that
2
much.
makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1.
And you have Up Low, which I'm fine with. Up is not a movie I've ever watched
Which also
again,
I
but I
still
think Up
like.
is still interesting.
Yeah, I
and,
like it. I just
That's a movie
Right.
with like thematic resonance
Right.
and like set pieces that are interesting.
that's like my 17th favorite Pixar movie. I like more than most movies.
Yeah, well,
maybe not
but
17.
I also don't
16.
care so much about the Pixar rankings as you do.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Like, I just mean like to me, it's like Brad Bird made
Yeah.
a movie. Great.
that's fine. We'll go to third.
Rude.
Yeah.
You're like, seems on the level to me. All right. So anyway, I really love the movie. I think it's great. It's probably going to be like in my top 10 of the year. Maybe not quite Incredibles level where it's like a contender for like my favorite movie of the year. But really love it. Think it's great. Think it's got all kinds of shit going on. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. And I want you to offer your analysis because I don't have much at this point. I just know the things that felt like they didn't really click for me.
Yeah.
But this is the last piece of context I want to throw on, which just kept on jumping out to me. He says, I finally got an idea. Now that Tomorrowland's bombed, I'm going to do Incredibles 2.
Right.
He starts digging into it. They've announced that, and they've announced Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
And then Toy Story 4 gets pushed back.
Yeah.
And Incredibles gets pulled forward a year.
Yes, it does.
Which is very dramatic in animation.
Yeah, this was made on a tight schedule. Brad Bird gave an interview to Kyle Buchanan saying, like, I think fear is a motivating factor.
We
and you're
lost
like,
a
God,
year.
you maniac.
We lost a year of development. And
Yeah.
people talk about why the good Pixar movies are so tight. It's that they spend 2 years just fucking cracking story with a full team every day, not letting themselves off the hook. You
Right.
know?
Right.
And the ones that just feel like immaculate, zero fat, clean, economic, smart storytelling are really good graduates of that program.
One exception.
What?
Ratatouille.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's
and
the thing.
Toy Story 2 is the same thing as
Two,
well.
right? Yeah, those are the ones where they rushed them.
Yes.
They probably made everyone work way too hard and were like violated all kinds of like
Right.
laws.
Toy Story 2 especially, they say like it kind of
That
ruined
one
some
was like
families.
a year, right? Like
Yeah.
they did that. They turned like I think Ratatouille. They turned it around in 2 years.
It was Toy Story 2 was supposed to go straight to VHS
No, I know. We talked about it.
within the next 6 months, and Lasseter said, "Give me a year and I'll get it in theaters."
Right, which
and
is
then
crazy.
He
But
probably
then
touched
he
a lot
like
of people inappropriately.
gave too many. He gave lots of hugs.
Lots of hugs.
If you know what I mean.
I hate the fucking universe.
Sorry, and Jennifer Lee could hire at Disney, I think,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I think
she's
both of
the
those are
person
good
who
hires.
sort of changed the Frozen script and
Yeah. I
made
mean-
it sister focused. That seems like
Disney-
a creative
Yes.
voice you want.
Right. Disney has done a much better job of bringing new voices in on the animation side.
Can I say one
I
other
want
thing?
Pixar to do that. I want Pete Docter to find interesting people and develop and
totally. Me
nurture
too,
new
me too,
voices.
and I hope he does
That's
that.
what they need to do as a studio.
And Ben, I don't want to hurt your feelings, and I don't know how you feel.
Oh my God, his hand is reaching for the cards.
I'm a little worried about Wreck-It Ralph too. I saw the trailer in front of.
Oh my God, his hand is under the desk. I can't see what he's grabbing.
He's got like more cards.
He's motionless, but his
Did you
fingers.
see the trailer for Wreck-It Ralph 2 in
He's
front of
slowly lifting
Incredibles 2?
something up. I see maybe no, it's
I think that was a nod.
under the desk.
Yes, I saw it.
How do you feel? I'm not like saying like, oh, it looks bad, but I'm sort of like, what's going on
I
here?
still can't see his other hand. Oh, he lifted it up. It's empty. Wow.
He just opened
Nope.
his hands.
Nope, it's a death card.
What? Jesus Christ. Death card.
You're doing tarot card readings now?
That seems like a major upgrade
This
from
card
yellow
system's
card.
amazing. This is a massive breakthrough.
Am I dead now? Look at that spike in the audio. You're going to have to deal with that.
In my defense, that was astonishing.
It was. I think the podcast has just gone to a whole new level.
I couldn't have known
is crazy.
to roll away from the mic on that one. I didn't know. I thought at worst we were going to get a red card.
I thought there might be like a purple card, like some sort of new color.
I don't know. Maybe like a American Express black card.
This is a lot. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Maybe
Crystal
he's gonna buy
Pepsi,
you
Who's going to buy me dinner?
Yeah.
David, I want to buy you dinner.
I will say this about Wreck-It Ralph 2, which we should spoil, is going to be a Ben's choice when it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
we've
We're
got
going to
it.
do
He chose it.
an episode on the Ralphs. I do feel a little scared by the way they have moved so fully away from video games.
Right. And now it just seems like this kind of like Shrek 2-y sort of like reference-y. But that's what the trailer is. Like,
The
I don't know if the
trailer
movie's
looks
going to
like
be that.
good emoji movie, but I'm still not
It
super
looks like okay
interested
emoji
in
movie.
seeing a good emoji movie.
Right.
I guess I see your point.
But I love Ralph and
I
Vanellope.
love
They're
Ralph
great
so
movie
much.
friends.
And I'm really looking forward to it because
Yeah.
I just want more Ralph.
Yeah.
But
Great point. We do get more Ralph.
I want more Ralph.
Yeah, we're gonna get him. He's in it. He's gonna wreck stuff.
And that's
He's going to wreck it.
And that's what going into it.
Right.
You're gonna at least get that.
They're making you a promise that they cannot break. Ralph may break the internet, but the movie won't break that promise.
Right.
No.
He's going to wreck it.
He's gonna wreck it, you get more Ralph. But You're right. It might be a little reference heavy, and it might be kind of more like commenting on contemporary online culture
Yeah.
in a way that might be
a
sorta-
little like, all right, I get it.
See, when you said like Wreck-It Ralph 2 looks like bad Shrek, I feel like Wreck-It Ralph 1 is like better Shrek.
Oh,
It's
totally.
a really
It's a
good
great Shrek. Good monster,
deconstruction
like, yeah.
of storytelling tropes.
Yeah, totally.
And
totally.
character
Yes,
roles.
Yes, you're right.
You know, in a really smart way. And this, I'm just like, is it just going to be them making fun of different things in culture?
Man, you know who else is out in North Carolina? Katie Rich, another friend of the show, who lives there.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Shrek because Charlie's been watching some Shrek.
Yeah.
Although Coco is his fave right now, apparently.
Good kid.
And she was just saying, like, Shrek's such a piece of shit.
Yeah, blows.
And not only that, looks terrible.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Also, Shrek's a fucking loser.
Also, Shrek sucks. Lives in the fucking swamp. Buy an apartment, loser.
We've talked about this probably like
God,
200
get a
episodes
job.
ago, but do you remember when Shrek like 3 came out? Or I'm sorry, Shrek the Third came out, and they did the whole campaign with like the National Board for like Children's Health, where it was like Shrek like on a skateboard with like a fucking jug of milk and an apple saying eat healthy.
Right.
And it's like no one eats more unhealthy
It's
shit.
garbage.
There's a fucking set piece in Shrek 1 that's like him eating like pig pubes and eyeball soup and shit. And they were like, Shrek says being in shape is fun. I'm like, first of all, he's fat. Second of all,
Where's a burlap sack?
right. He like literally
Because he can't find clothes that fit him.
he drinks dog diarrhea for breakfast. Like, what are you talking about?
His best friend's a donkey. That's a filthy animal.
Also, here's a pitch. Shrek-It Ralph. Okay, so Incredibles 2.
Blank Shrek. Would you say you had a blank Shrek to make that joke?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. No, but before we talk about Incredibles 2, what's before Incredibles 2? A little film called Bow.
Yes.
Let me find the name of the filmmaker because I forgot it.
First female Pixar short director.
That's depressing.
Yup.
Oh, boy. They did have, I mean, obviously they had a female director on Brave, who they fired.
Yeah, they bravely fired
But
from her own
she is
movie.
credited.
Yes, as a co-director.
Domi Shi is the director of Bow. Now, Bow.
It was announced, it's a movie about a mother raising a dumpling who becomes a boy. And everyone's like,
Yeah, I
what?
see this and I'm like, I see like a little still from it and I'm like, one, you know, I'm a little sick of the Pixar cutie thing.
Yeah, I'm sick of your cutie thing.
I am. That's true. A lot of too
So
much.
cute.
And two, I was just kind of like viscerally like, my food is not going to talk to me.
This was your argument.
Nuh-uh. Doesn't come to life. It stays dead and then I eat it.
Asks too many questions.
You're right. How much is there consciousness?
I don't want to have to think about this.
Right.
It's like Cars times a billion.
So now then we see the
Are they-
movie.
right. Especially because you get into the thing where it's like, okay, what's
It is Cars times a billion.
right?
Exactly. Right.
But you're like a pork dumpling. So obviously pork, it was a pig who was alive. Then it gets ground into meat, then put in a bun, and then that gains its own consciousness.
Is the pork the brain?
Right.
like what, how
Does it have
work?
any memories of pre-slaughter?
Hey, why so literal?
Yeah, well, fair enough. Then I see the movie and I'm
Also,
like, oh,
why so serious?
why so serious? You know, even though this is a pretty twisted movie,
Yeah, have to.
twisted. It gets a little twisted in the end there.
Well, they twist the dumpling.
Well, also true.
A lot of twisting.
But you know, it's a metaphorical film about like an immigrant mother like having to sort of let her son go and
Yes.
grow up, and
Right.
he's going to be different and might be, you know, a little less like sort of, you know, interested in the culture she wants to impart to him.
Well,
right?
that's
You know, like
when this thing started working for me,
And
where I
then
was
I
like,
get
oh,
the
this
bow
is
metaphor.
very metaphorical.
But this movie does two things I do not like.
Okay.
One, the food comes to life. Nope. It does happen in the movie. Let's be clear. It's
Two,
not
the
like that-
food has a little goatee.
Didn't like that. That's sort of like 1A, right? Two, there's a scene in this 8-minute movie
Yeah.
where she makes this fucking sumptuous
Oh,
banquet.
This is your least favorite thing in
and
cinema.
you see there's this great shot of her like in a wok, like cooking a lot
Yeah.
of meat, and you know, she makes this like platter.
Yeah.
And she's like, and he just walks out, he's like,
Yeah.
you know, don't want to eat that, fuck
Yeah.
off, leaves. And I'm just like, at that point, I'm practically like, we need to leave the theater. I need to go throw up.
I liked it. I thought it
I'm
was...
so upset that they didn't eat the food.
I thought it was a sweet little movie.
To be clear for listeners, I don't like it when people don't eat food in
Right.
movies.
I really liked the character animation on Surly Dumpling Boy.
I did too.
I liked
think
what a
it
little
looked good.
stinker he was.
Yeah, yeah.
And it came together for me at the end. I thought it was a nice little thing. hey, they should let her make more movies.
Sure. I mean, it was obviously a very personal movie for
Yeah.
her. She's talked about it in interviews.
Which is, look, the best picture movies come out of the directors who have really personal stories to tell.
Also, right, to the twisted part. She eats it. She eats the fucking dumpling person.
Right. And when
And it's like a metaphor for like her anger and her inability to let go, but also she like eats the dumpling man.
the theater I saw
After
it
he's
in,
married a woman,
Yes.
a human woman.
yes, I mean the trauma that she's going to have to
Who
go
comes
through.
in with, and then she's like, the human woman leaves and she eats the, it's crazy.
Hey, how's your husband Jerry doing? Well, his mom ate him.
My mother-in-law ate my husband.
You're familiar with how my husband was a naughty little
dumpling.
dumpling boy, right? The poochie of dumplings.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
In the theater I saw
It's
it in,
a lot to throw at anyone. I think.
the theater I saw it in, I also just want to acknowledge the fact that we are still only on the short that plays before the movie.
Honestly, for this podcast, we're doing fine.
Who fucking cares?
Like,
The theater I saw it in, when she swallows him, and it's like very quick. She just goes
yeah,
like,
she goes "Pop." Right.
and then just like in the tummy. The theater I saw it in, someone not like yelled it out like they were trying to get credit for it, but just very loudly said, you just ate your son. Which is like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's what she did.
good cognitive abilities on you.
Woo. Anyway, a fascinating short. Certainly more interesting than
Yes.
some of the shorts they've had recently. Like, movie like shorts like Piper, where it's like, this is very pretty.
Looks great.
It's like an incredible piece
Yeah.
of animation, but it's, there's
Right.
not much to
Right.
it.
So, it's not a Piper, but it also fails to reach the heights of, say, lava. I love my curvy volcano.
It's the thing. She's not curvy though. It's
I was talking
one
about
of
the guy.
The guy's fucking curvy.
Yeah.
That guy's a mound.
It's like Kevin James of volcano.
He's a Shrek of volcanoes.
Okay, I lava you, David. Can I just say one thing before we get onto the movie? Because
How many times have we said, "Can I just?"
can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Because you brought up Twisted.
Mm.
I have a big career announcement here.
Okay.
I have just signed a deal with Warner Brothers, the new DC Entertainment, to do a solo Joker film.
Interesting.
Very
Okay.
excited. I think it's going to be a breakthrough. It will be the 5th solo Joker film to market.
Right. So we're gonna have Leto. We're gonna have Phoenix, and then this is on top of that.
Well, yeah, I guess you'll have whoever the new Joker is established in the Matt Reeves movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess this will be the 4th new Joker to market.
Good.
But it's very different because I'm sort of taking a Logan approach.
Sure.
It's going to be like an older Joker who's tired of making people laugh and gassing them and all of that. It's him coming to
Tired
terms
of
with his
murder.
mortality. And it's called Richard T. So, made that
If Warner
joke on
Brothers
Twitter,
gave
wanted to
you
repurpose it for the podcast.
$1 for that, their stock would immediately drop to 0, just like that. Boink.
It's called Richard T. I'm recycling Twitter jokes because we have to look after our environment. So, the film is called Incredibles 2. No,
No.
Drop
It's cleaner.
it's cleaner.
Bird said when people asked him about it, he was like, "It's not the Terminator 2," and I was like,
Good argument.
"Good point, buddy."
Fucking
Terminator
cool.
2.
Way to win that one.
Yeah. I had to people had to probably go home and cry after he annihilated them with that response.
So, cold open of this movie, I'm getting pumped because they're immediately bringing back one of my favorite characters,
The Underminer.
Tony Reidinger.
Oh, that's right. The cold open. Right.
I love Tony Reidinger.
Tony Reidinger, who
Tony Loaf,
I think is voiced by Brad Bird's son.
who in the first movie played the something amazing, I guess,
Now
kid
he's
on the
older.
tricycle. Now he's older. Little interesting nod to the passage of time, Benny.
Michael Bird.
Michael Bird.
Yeah, he's been in. No, apparently he was the voice of Tony Reidinger in The Incredibles.
Really?
I don't know.
So then maybe it was the other Bird son.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, Tony Reidinger, he's got a turtleneck.
Okay, so dreamy.
He's very dreamy.
Yeah.
Do you like Tony?
Yeah.
Okay. He's polite. A little doofusy. I'm not doofusy, but
He's a
a
nice
little,
boy.
little head in the clouds, I guess.
And what is his type?
Dreamboat.
He's like a nice boy. He's like
Tony
a nice
Loaf.
He's
boy
like a
from
nice,
high school.
approachable
Where your mom's
boy.
not going to freak out about you dating, right?
Okay.
Like he's like a nice boy.
He's like a fuck boy.
He's in drama.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But one thing jumps out to me immediately. We talked a lot about on our Incredibles episode, which was very tight, very short, no tangents. How
Universally acclaimed.
everyone loved it. probably our most favorite episode, favorited episode. That movie, when he pitched it, they were like, we cannot afford to make this movie, and they had to come with a lot of budget hacks for Incredibles.
Okay.
And one of them was, this movie has too many characters.
Okay.
So they developed a technology called Everyman that allowed them to have pretty much 2 stock body types for a female character and a male character, and they could fill out crowd scenes with minor variations. It would like auto-generate like, okay, this nose is 20% bigger, these eyes are 20% smaller. And so outside of the primary principal characters in The Incredibles, who were very meticulously designed, all the background characters in Incredibles and the one-liners, the under fives, what have you, all look kind of the same.
Sure.
And Tony Ryder falls into that, where he's very much the stock mold they have. He's very subtly redesigned in this opening in a way that makes it clear that it's like, oh, Brad Bird has, if not a blank check, a much larger check.
I'm sure this was, the listed budget is $200 million.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like twice as much as the first one.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's been a while.
Technology's advanced. He hasn't made an animated film in like a decade now.
Right.
So all these things, the processing power is there. But
This movie looks gorgeous.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it really does.
He also has found a way to do like, it's not cell shading, but he does some really interesting things with lighting in this movie and also design the characters at sharper angles.
Yes.
Especially the new characters like the Devers. But even the way he subtly redesigns the models for The Incredibles, so that the lighting hits them in a way that it looks more like shading on a 2D drawing than it does lighting in a 3-dimensional film, which kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
I think he's doing something really interesting here.
Yeah.
But so that right away, I was just like, okay, so he's going to push this fucking technology to the limits now. And this cold open is kind of replicating the cold open of the original Incredibles, where you're cutting between these brief conversations and the black musicless title cards, which I was like, okay, interesting mirror here. But now it's Rick Decker,
now
played by
voiced
Jonathan Banks, because Bud Lucky died, who was still very much alive when we recorded our other episode 15 years ago. Interviewing
old.
very old man. And he gets the final dedication at the end of the film. He's interviewing Tony Reidinger about what he witnessed, which was this Underminer attack that was teased at the end of the first movie, and then we go into that set piece itself.
Yeah, you got John Ratzenberger. He's kind of playing like, it's like a mole man, but a little more blue collar.
Right.
Kind of a blue collar mole man.
But I always loved the Underminer ending because, of course, that's the first issue of Fantastic Four. Is the mole man, his creature popping out from the middle of the street and his family coming together. And Incredibles is obviously very indebted to the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And having them have this first big public fight feels very classical FF to me.
Okay.
And this is just like fun fucking roller coaster set piece Brad Bird business.
So much fun. You got Mr. Incredible trampolining into action, then getting sucked into the... I really like that.
And the good story beat that they tell Dash and Violet to stay behind and watch after Jack.
Okay.
But both of them want to be part of the fight.
Yeah.
So they keep on sort of
passing
hot
Jack
potatoing off.
Yeah.
The bit with the stroller just rolling into view.
Really good.
And Jack's like, or Dash is like, what happened? And then it's like, oh no, it's Violet. She was pushing it, invisible, runs away. Good stuff.
Violet does some cool shit. She throws like force field bolts.
Yeah, and
like,
Violet's the fucking best.
Violet has a lot to do in
This movie does a lot right by Violet for me.
I read a lot of interviews with Vowell where she talked about how she records just alongside Brad Bird. Brad Bird does every single voice of every other character, which she says he's like weirdly good at.
Yeah.
But she talked about how like when you record the movie, you're like, man, this is like a Violet movie because you don't hear the
know
other
anything
stuff,
else
right?
is happening.
You're like, wow,
Right.
you know, like that.
And if you watch, like, there's a good B-roll video that came out. I think someone posted in the Blankies Reddit of Bird working with like Sophia Bush and Hunter and Nelson and Jackson when they were recording. And he really does like contextualize every line for them.
Right.
Like he comes in and works with them and he's like, so this is like, you have to imagine there's like a giant drill and what you're feeling right now is before they do a series of that line over and over again. So I think he does make things very personal for each actor, you know?
Right.
Which helps with their performances feeling that lived in.
Yep.
So this is a fun fight scene, which ends in a tremendous amount of destruction.
Chaos.
And here I'm like, okay, so is this... Because I've tried to stay pretty clear, not just spoilers, but major plot details of this movie going into it. Because I was like, I'm on board. I don't even really want to know what he's doing outside of the broad strokes. And all that I'm hearing is just the basic plot. And I'm like, but what are the themes of this movie? What's the thing that Bird's digging into? So now, very quickly, this movie's setting up this, like, Yeah, but look at the fucking public damage of this thing.
Sure.
You say that you're out here protecting us, but you didn't catch the guy.
Right.
People could have gotten hurt, and now the city has to pay for this.
Which is the classic superhero thing. They do these things, and the villains usually get away because they're going to come back.
Right.
And like, what about the aftermath? That's the gag of the first Incredibles too.
Right.
You know, the first Incredibles, comma, TOO.
Right. Because here's the other big gambit this movie is doing. Starting immediately after the first one.
Right.
So you don't have any shift of like, oh, here's what's happened in between the two so we can set a new table for new circumstances.
No, he wants to make a movie about like, okay, if they're going to come back, how do you re-legalize superheroes? Like, this is a world that made them outlaws, right?
Right.
So the movie is about like the legal question of superheroes. Like, should they exist?
Because I guess the Underminer fight, at that point in the movie, it's a couple weeks after they do that quick time jump.
Right.
After
there's a very short time jump right at the end of the movie.
Thing,
right.
Which we never really see the public, like the larger public ripples of the syndrome fight. Obviously, the people who are around in the immediate vicinity are like cheering and are like, yay, supers are back. But we don't see how the news covers it. We don't know, you know. Rick Decker seems optimistic about bringing them back. But we don't know the full sort of effects of that culturally. But this makes it clear that people are fighting against it.
The government is.
Yes. People
People seem mostly fine with them, which I think is a crucial part of this movie.
But the media is able to sell the story.
Yeah, well, that's Winston's argument, where he's like, all you see is the news footage of the aftermath, and that's no good for you guys, and that's a problem. Ben, what do you think of the big Underminer fight?
Great set piece.
Okay.
I loved his vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And
big drill.
It was a big drill. I love how he had it built so that then it had the escape designed right into it.
Yeah, where it tunnels away. Sort of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle-esque. Remember how they had those drill cars? Yeah. Bebop and Rocksteady.
And there's some really great pun names.
Mm-hmm.
This one in particular is good. I think, though, a villain that's just driven for money is such a clear thing.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it later, but I don't know. The like, to me, I'm like, oh, he's bad and he wants money. This whole like weird sort of like loftier, sort of like bigger ideas of why someone's bad. I feel like this movie
struggles with it more than the original does.
Yes, for sure.
Which I think, like, you know, Becky Drysdale in our episode was talking about how she has a hard time totally reconciling Syndrome's a whole sort of stance, what he's fighting for within the story, and also what he represents to the viewer.
I like his jackhammer punching. The Underminer. I think that's cool.
Oh, yeah, that he's got his weird mechanical hands.
Cool.
I fucking love it. Yeah.
Cool.
And his hands themselves also look like Wally's claws.
Yeah, they're little claw hands.
Which I don't know if that was intentional, but they're very similar sort of flat claw hand
Maybe
design.
I don't know. Yeah. I think Bird likes Easter eggy stuff. I mean, and the Pixar movies always
love
Easter egging each other.
Right. Love that. I couldn't totally figure out what he was trying to say with the villains here. I think he's trying to say a couple different things.
Well, we'll talk. Well, I mean, the main villains we'll talk about.
Right.
The Underminer is more your classic comic book
and
villain,
also, we so rarely get that in superhero movies these days because it's usually people who are trying to end the world in one way or another.
Well, right, which
it's
I think
nice when you just
him.
have like petty bank thieves. Like a thing I love about
Again,
Spider-Man
the classic
2
'60s villain
is that he has a bank heist sequence.
I also just like, Spider-Man 2 with Joel McHale.
Yeah.
And the toaster.
Yeah.
I love that.
The best.
Well, and also, but I even like in Spider-Man Homecoming
2 recently. How the fuck did we not nominate Rosemary Harris for Best Supporting Actress?
You love her in that movie.
She's so good.
We gotta do Raimi because I really want to talk about the Spider-Man movies.
Me
but
too.
Anyway, but Homecoming 2, I like that Homecoming has the sort of working class villain where he's just like, I'm trying to make some money here.
Yeah.
You know, which is, I mean, Spider-Man's always been the classic street hero. So his villains
all
are
of Spider-Man 2's problems come from the Spider-Man arc.
Spider-Man 2 doesn't have any problems.
I'm sorry, Spider-Man Homecoming's problems come from the Spider-Man arc or lack thereof.
Sure.
All its world shit, I think, is exemplary. But yes, it is nice to just watch a very clear, like, he's trying to rob the bank, they have to stop him. There are four of them, we know what their powers are.
Also, his way of robbing banks is cool, where he blows up the banks so they fall down and he can just suck money from underground.
Right.
Like, the banks literally, like, fall.
And he has,
down.
doesn't he have that speech where he's like, I'm undermining
Yeah.
the pillars of your, like,
Yeah.
it's like great where it's like, right, this is how like Stan Lee would come
He
up
has
with
a
like
good
a villain.
bit, right? Where it's like the villain's bit is part of everything he
Right,
does.
right.
Yes, his car, his morals,
In a
like,
very Brad
yes.
Bird way. It's like
Yeah.
the design has to match up with his philosophy, which has to match up with his
Which is,
movement.
you're right. It is the classic.
Love it.
The classic good Stan Lee villain.
Yeah.
The bad ones are the guy who's like, my name is the schemer. And it's like, what do you do? I scheme.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What
I've
does
got a
that
great
mean?
scheme.
Yeah,
I'll kill you.
Like, my teeth are
Rub my
lasers.
hands together and they get hot.
Oh, boy.
I guess that's scheming because
Yeah,
that's
right.
a gesture
I just
that
read this old comic with the
dodgy people
schemer
make.
where he's like, I'm going to scheme to take over the mob. And I'm like, you sound like a mobster. And he's like, no, the schemer. Anyway.
Yeah. There are some of those characters like the shark. What's your power? I'm ruthless like a shark. Okay, that's all criminals.
I also don't sleep.
right. Yeah.
Gotta keep moving.
Yeah.
Whereas the bit with the Kingpin in the Stan Lee Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
every time, like, Spider-Man is always like, hi, he's so fat. And then he punches him. He's like, I forgot. He's solid muscle. And you're like, we get it. Okay, he's strong. But they're like, can you believe a fat man, but not fat? Muscle. Like, they do that every single time he shows up.
But I also like that the Kingpin, it's like,
He gets mad about being called fat. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm not fat. I'm like, work hard on this body.
dude looks pretty fat.
I mean, he's a big man.
Just bulking up.
You're right.
I'm building muscle mass.
And Spider-Man's always like, hi, you're so fat. And then he's thinking like, he's not, though. It's all muscle.
Yeah.
Every time.
I know that the fucking Marvel TV, Marvel movies thing is a Rio Grande line that doesn't seem like it'll be crossed anytime soon because of Perlmutter Feige fights.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I would love to see Tom Holland fight Vincent D'Onofrio.
Hey, man, let's make it happen.
It would just be the fucking best. Oh, I think
D'Onofrio's good.
isn't fucking Liev Schreiber playing Kingpin in the Spider-Verse movie?
Oh, voicing him?
That's what I've heard.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
That movie looks really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, visually.
Remember when I said that
Literally
6 months
looks.
ago and you were like, eh, and I was like, looks pretty interesting.
I think I wasn't that
You
dismissive.
were
I'm more
pretty
dismissive of the
dismissive.
title. Ugh.
Well, yeah, it should just be called Spider-Verse.
All right. Anyway, so the big fight happens. They get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They're shipped away as usual in their witness protection program.
Our old friend Decker, and he makes it clear, like, look, they're shutting the whole thing down.
He has this line, politicians don't understand people who do good things.
Uh-huh.
That makes them nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, he's really nice with them.
Yes.
Like, where he's like, I love you guys, but, yeah, it's like they just don't want to pay for this shit anymore.
Yeah.
Go on. What were you going to say?
Which gets into something culturally now where I feel like this entire, not to get into this fucking thing, but like the social justice warrior thing is so insane to me because it comes out of this
waiting
fight
for
of
it.
like, wait, if you're trying to like stand up for people who are being persecuted, there clearly must be something in it for you, right? Like when people derisively call someone a social justice warrior, it's like, you're just trying to get the credit for doing the good thing. And it's like, why are you so skeptical of anyone trying to do a good thing? And also, kind of doesn't matter as long as you're doing a good thing.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
better to do a good thing for the wrong reasons
Yeah.
than a bad thing for the right reasons, you know? But at this point, the movie's kind of dealing in interesting, kind of murky territory where it's like this public relations fight, the imagery, the sort of the optics, if you will. And The Incredibles are coming from this place where it's like they don't have a big ideology. They love being superheroes.
Right. It's their like core being is just to do this.
There's a place of sort of automatic empathy for them and justice where it's like they don't have a thing they're standing for. It's just like, oh, danger, let's stop that.
Right. I mean, that's one thing Winston is sort of pointing out to them. But
Yeah.
where he's like, like it's good to manicure this a little bit.
Sure.
Streamline what your plan of action.
Right.
But the movie is being made so many years after the first one, and there's been all these superhero movies since.
So here's the core of your...
A little bit.
Right.
I do
Yeah.
think Bird's been watching that and thinking about it, like, because I think he's
Where I
a
fit
guy who
into
thinks
this.
about this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the movie is like, is there a place for these people
Yeah.
in our society? And what is their place? And is that a good thing or a bad thing? And right when they get to the hotel, they have this big fight, which is essentially like, should we break the law
Right.
in order to like fix the law? Like, is it worthwhile to do that?
This is the angle of your take that I find the most interesting, which is why do we keep on asking for this from our pop culture?
Right.
Why have we been on this kick for 16 years that we have not stopped? In 2008, everyone thought this is the end of an era, and then fucking Iron Man and Dark Knight came out.
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of last year, everyone went, we must be hitting peak superhero.
Sure.
And we're now
And
going to get
Black
the
Panther,
three
like,
highest
changes the
grossing
game,
superhero
right.
movies. I mean, really, like, there's a good chance that Incredibles ends up the third highest grossing superhero movie of all time behind
You're right. I didn't even think about it. You're right.
behind Black Panther and Infinity War.
Right.
You know?
Which came out this year.
Right. Which are all going to end up in the top 10 in history. So there's a question about Ben is looks like he's
Ben's
having an existential
depressed.
crisis. But there's a question. Why do we ask for this? What are we getting from this? Is this helping us or hurting us to be constantly investing our sort of imagination into these
Right.
pillars of moral integrity who are also so wildly superpowered that we just go like, you deal with it.
Yeah. And also, like, what are the risks inherent in that? It's funny because, like, I do feel like Incredibles 1 is this movie that's like, they should be allowed to be superheroes because that's what they are. And
Right.
that's where people see this argument of, like, you know, this sort of like super elitist whatever.
Yes.
You know, where it's like, Dash should be able to run as fast as he can because that's what he can do. So,
Right.
like, why would you restrain him? Right? Like, that's the sort of free enterprise
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then this movie is a little more like, you can't deny that, but also, you know, there's a lot of risk there.
Yeah.
Because this is a movie about superheroes being used for evil. And this is a movie about morality and how people who don't have any morality are the most frightening, like, dangerous people of all.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that ends with, like, the villain saying, like, we would have been friends if it weren't for your, like, code of ethics.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Elastigirl's like, yeah, I mean, sorry. Like, that's a crucial line. I mean,
I agree.
The Evelyn Helen is the, you know, that's like the crucial relationship.
Look, I like all their scenes together.
Yes.
But I came out of the movie being like, I still don't understand why she did this.
What do you mean? She hates superheroes.
But I don't understand this being her plan.
What you mean, the hypnotism?
We will get to it.
Okay.
Okay, so now they're relocated to a shitty motel.
Yes.
Which is nice bird. And I feel like this movie really doubles down on the 60s stuff.
Totally.
Like, it makes
it's a
it
little
very-
later, maybe. Like,
Right.
you know, it's yeah.
But it makes it very clear that, well, not, because, I mean, it's like 30 seconds later.
I know.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. You know, like the stuff like the new math. Like,
Yes.
he's talking about,
Right.
like, right, yeah.
But I feel like this makes it clear, like, this isn't
Yeah,
just
like Mad Men House. And all
an
that,
aesthetic choice.
Right.
We're clearly like setting this movie in like Walt Disney's Tomorrowland Future
Right.
version
Especially
of
the,
the
house
60s.
with the water features and the.
But the TV
yeah.
being black and white,
TV being
the
black,
things
Outer
that are
Limits
broadcast,
and,
right? It's
Johnny
like
Quest,
this is 100% the 1960s.
Yeah.
Just an alternate version.
Right.
They get to this motel.
Yeah.
And they're all sort of trying to like figure out like where do we stand here, and having this thing they're explaining to the kids about like, you know, can we break the law?
Right.
Which is like a thing I see coming up now with like all the sort of immigration nightmares that are happening right now, with people being like, the only way to really fight this is to actually be
Right. To break the law.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And in the first movie, Helen is pretty steadfast. It's like, well, superheroes illegal. Like,
Right.
that's over. You know, and
Right.
Bob's the one who's like secretly doing the police scanner.
But as I saw someone tweet this week, like Harriet Tubman was breaking the law.
No, people, of course. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
No. We're on the same page here.
Yeah.
Slavery bad. But no, but the argument that
Harriet
like
should be on the 20. Let's
the
put her
people
on.
who are canonized, right, as being like our big trailblazers in human rights were all breaking the law at the time.
Sure,
Who
absolutely.
then were able to remake the law
Yes.
by their actions. And so that's one of now, let's add that onto the pile of arguments that the movie is sort of stewing on.
Sure, but right. I mean, like that to me is a core argument of should superheroes be legal, where it's
Yeah.
like Bob is basically, he keeps saying like the kids need to be able to choose. Like he's saying like, again, like kind of like we are a thing. Like we
Yeah.
can't just be ignored.
Now, Helen seems a lot more rational about it.
Well, she's the rational
Right,
one,
but Bob's also
Bob
coming-
has so much like self-worth issues wrapped up in it. You know what I mean? I feel like
Yeah.
Helen's more chill is like, I have a family that I love. Like I'm doing okay.
She was also fine leaving it behind.
Yeah.
I think she gets a rush out of doing it again.
Yes,
But
she's so
Bob, it's
good at
very
it.
clear he's so miserable at the beginning of Incredibles 1. And then he gets such a pep in his step from like getting reignited by the Mirage syndrome stuff.
Right. Whereas his arc in this movie is him realizing that he gets so much out of being a dad. Like that's his arc in the movie.
Right. Which
Bird just flipped the arcs. Like, it's a classic sequel move.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a career thing where it's like he needs to find a way to not only find value in his career.
Because at the beginning of this movie, like, they're like, Elastigirl, you go do it. And he's like, what? But I'm the bacon getter, you know? Because she even says earlier, she's like, well, why don't you do that? And I'll get that. And he's like, no, I'll do it. Like, he thinks he's going to have to go back to another insurance company or whatever, right? Yeah. But he won't, like, allow her to, like, supplant him in the sort of hierarchy, you know?
I had, like, a vaguely terrifying moment the other day where I had to go get out of jury duty.
Oh, sure.
Or get it postponed, rather, until I'm done ticking it up.
Yeah.
And I had to fill out one of those forms where, all the information, but then it also said, like, occupation, and then it said hobbies.
Okay.
And I was like, occupation, actor, I guess. And then it was like, hobbies. And I was like, fuck, I think I don't have hobbies anymore.
This form just gave you an existential
It really
crisis.
did. And I was like, everything.
Buying toys.
No, but I was like, everything.
I was going to say, toys.
But this is what's terrifying for me, is I was like, everything I would have listed as a hobby 10 years ago is now my career outside of that.
So, like, what? Like, seeing movies? What do you mean? Like,
like a comedy, seeing movies, like whatever it was, like
hosting badass podcasts.
Right. These things that I was like, I find this fun, and then
that sounds good. Your job is the thing you find fun.
But I also was like, I have no separation from like my professional life and the things that like make me happy.
You can't just go home and say like, let me just do this to unwind. Like nothing to do with.
And I've been talking to you about like production stress, the like par for the course, just like, it's difficult making a TV show.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
And part of the problem is it's like I am completely incapable of just like hanging my hat up at the end of the day and being like, I got to go to sleep.
No.
I had this moment where I was like, I need to get into like fucking making paper or like some sort of
you
like
need like to join a choir. Like, you just need to do something just that's other, right?
Because like I have nothing. My entire
sports membership.
My entire sense of self-worth is tied up in this thing, but also like if I have struggles with that thing,
then it just
has
ruins
the ability
your
to
life.
Completely ankle me.
That's work-life balance, right? That's what you're talking about.
Right. I don't have children.
You can have a couple.
I'm like, let's get on that,
Yeah, toss
when everyone sees me, they're like, that seems like someone who is so in control of his own life. He should have direct.
Right, you're like, why doesn't that guy have kids? Screaming out for him.
He's so good at waking up.
Going to the bathroom and stuff. He's just great at it.
The Bob stuff was kind of hitting me hard there because it's like, especially like if your career's going well, look, I relate to Bob. I'm a superhero. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, then the moments where you don't have that thing. Am I getting a card for that?
You're close.
Okay.
God knows what card it's going to be.
The moments when you don't have that thing get really bleak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
but
our old friend Lucius
to talk about Bob's arc, it's about him accepting the value he can draw from his family and from being a dad.
Right.
Lucius shows up.
That can be as satisfying.
Absolutely.
Parenting when done properly can be a heroic act.
Absolutely. And so, what's his name? Lucius shows up looking hotter than ever, looking a real snack.
He looks so...
That's the worst thing about our Incredibles episode, the universally acclaimed episode, is that not you really, Becky does it more, but you kind of like, you have fun, get a little, where she's like, you have a crush on Lucius? Yeah, he's hot. He's a hot guy. Yeah. So cool, he's hot. So hot, he's cool.
Right.
He's ice.
Someone said that that little tangent in our episode caused them to apply what is it, Rule 34?
Sure. Like look up the sexy Frozone.
A lot of Frozone porn out there.
Stunned to learn this. Frozone rules.
Yeah.
Usher plays the limo driver who says I'm your biggest fan.
Really?
And that's because Usher loves Frozen. I'm almost certain it's Usher. I'm going to look it up.
That's funny.
Yes, Usher.
It's just weird.
He loves Frozone.
Right. Outside of like all the, Elastigirl porn that Anthony Lane has commissioned himself.
Boing. He literally is a boing joke. That's what it is.
Yeah. Check out The New Yorker. You know The New Yorker, the most sophisticated publication around?
What's up?
You know The New Yorker.
Yeah. You've heard of The New Yorker.
Elitist, man with a monocle looking at a butterfly. Right?
Yeah.
Their
funny
review,
cartoons.
Yeah. But not so much laugh out loud funny as how wry funny, right? Their review of The Incredibles includes a paragraph about how attracted their head and most senior critic was to Elastigirl, ending with a joke about the popcorn on your lap being flung up into the air because you're boner.
Red card to him.
Yeah.
But talking about the scene where Elastigirl and Evelyn chat to each other, which I do think is, there is like a sort of tension to that scene that's, but not quite boing, tension.
Agreed. I think there is some interesting tension. He also implies that every time two women talk on screen, he's like, why isn't this rated NC-17? What is that? How do they get away with this?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right.
Ooh, boy-yoing, I think you mean.
Yeah.
So, Lucius, looking fucking hot.
He's like,
come with me.
So
I got
during
something
our big adventure, this
Right.
guy, Winston Dever, who we see in this great action sequence, played by Odenkirk, also looking at snack.
Yeah, and also looking a lot like Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, who's a hottie.
Yeah.
Number one hottie. Gave me his card and like he wants to talk to us about super stuff.
Yeah.
And so they put on their costumes.
I just
put on the trench coats.
I love that.
It's so good because it's just
I love them sans mask,
right? Clearly
wearing superhero like unitards underneath trench coats. There's such a cool meshing of styles there.
I also like the first movie has that sort of, it's playing on that vibe of Bob's having an affair, right? Like with Mirage, and it ends with him hugging her, and Elastigirl's all mad. And like it's got the she listens in on the phone, and and this is like the married couple have kind of rekindled, and like they're putting on their coats and they'd be like, "Bye, kids, we're going out for a walk.
It feels like
watch the baby. All right, see you later. Pizza on the table."
Right? Are they going to like a key party?
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah, no, right.
Are they gonna fuck Frozone?
Because Frozone shows up and looking at,
and David's there like, "Oh God, they better fuck Frozone." And Anthony Lane's like, boing.
I mean, everyone knows that Elastigirl is like so hot, but like, fucking relax.
They're all,
okay.
I mean, look.
No, Elastigirl is like very, very, very cool.
I can't say that because she's my mother, but.
Right. Yeah. Holly Hunter. Did you have that little teaser in front?
Yeah, which is really weird at AMC theaters.
Yeah.
Right, where it's like...
Where they're like, making a movie like this is really hard. Like, takes a lot of work. And we're like, okay, don't brag about it.
I'll tell you why.
I want that in front of like Den of Thieves. Like in front of like the stupidest movie
Before
ever.
you make fun of us, just know like, it's the
Look, I mean, it's 4 months of my life on this.
It's the deathbed, the bed that eats people bit, where it's like someone had to wake up at 4 a.m. and toast the bagels. This is a lot of people working a lot. I'll tell you why I didn't like it. Felt like they were stealing my bit. What are you saying? No one should ever make an animated movie?
Yeah, they were stealing your bit.
It's also like, fucking calm down. We know it took 14 years.
We paid. It's okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
That's what the money is for. Right. To quote the great John Draper.
Right. That's like one of the... I talked at Sky High on Masterpiece Theater
friends of the show.
Recently. Joined the Six Timers Club. And
are you the only member of that club?
No.
Really? Who else is in there?
What's his? I'm forgetting now.
Oh boy.
I'll get to it. But I threw in my old Sky High Blu-ray, and it had like 3, because that was like first wave of Blu-rays, 3 anti-piracy ads at the top of the Blu-ray, and I'm like, I just bought it.
Yeah, right. I know.
Like
you wouldn't steal a car.
In 2008, I'm sure I paid $35 for Sky High on Blu-ray, lacking any bonus features.
Old Mindy Kaling stand-up bit about that?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I might steal a car if I just had to click a button and then it was free and no one ever bothered me
If I could
about
touch
it.
a car and it would immediately reproduce into another identical car, and the person who owned that car in the first place still got to keep their car. But I was like, this is the last person you should be telling, like, please watch our movie. I'm like, we're here.
Yes, we're here. Winston Dever.
Yes.
Here's his tragic story. His dad was this captain of industry type, loved superheroes, right? Sort of like he's sort of like a pre-war, you know what I mean? Like a 40s guy, who's just like, America.
Yeah.
Loves heroes because they're heroic. He loves Gazer Beam.
Yeah.
Nice little Gazer Beam shout out.
Gamma Jack.
He had phones.
Yeah.
Right. He's like a
He
classic
got direct
golden
line.
age.
He financed them so much.
Right. They had a direct line to Gazer Beam and the Flame one.
Why am I
Like
forgetting his name?
Flameoid.
Dyna Guy?
No, not Dyna Guy. Dyna Guy is like a thunderbolt in his head.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, he has his name. It has a dumb name.
Yeah, okay.
But right, like we don't. He's like a golden age of comics guy, right?
Yes, yes.
Where it's just like it's great that there are superheroes because what they do is they fight crime. Crime is bad.
Right.
That's sort of like the whole take of a golden age superhero.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're
yeah.
a criminal, they fight you. The end.
And also, I think the idea that they like inspire people, that they're like good, upstanding,
right.
sort
Good
of
Americans
exemplars
who wear
of-
masks
Yes.
and won't reveal who they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this stuff, I get to this chunk of the movie.
And then he died after the superheroes are banned. He gets robbed. He picks up the phone. No one's there. He gets shot.
Right. And I get like a little worried at this moment.
Uh-huh.
Just because I'm like,
You're thinking like, is Brad like grinding an axe? Is that what?
no, I get worried where I'm like, okay, he's really showing the work here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I agree. The first
This is such
this scene,
a clear
this sequence.
tee up. Like
The
it's
Dever
so
sequence.
much exposition that's so clearly like I'm setting up the conflict of this movie. I'm setting up these two characters and their
Their
history,
backgrounds, right.
their opposite viewpoints on what happened.
Because he has that moment where he's like, I don't agree with you, but we can't talk about it right now.
Right. And it's like, it's not like I can fully solve the equation here, but it's like, I got it down to 3 options.
Yeah.
Like this movie's giving me such a clear tee up. And it's not like the syndrome thing is a big twist in the first Incredibles, but it's also like the way
No.
Buddy's introduced feels pretty organic. It contributes
Sure.
interesting tension to that opening set piece. Then he's gone for a while, you know?
No, I
there
know,
are other
and
things
I'm your
going on.
biggest
You're
fan.
caught up in Bob's,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
sort of.
no, I know.
And then reintroduced now we're in it. And this just feels like, you know, I just feel, it doesn't feel sweaty to me.
No.
But I'm seeing some perspiration.
Well, I
and
think
then being
it's-
like, can we just get this all out
Well,
there?
that's more what I think. Whereas Bird's like, okay, we're gonna have the one scene that just gets it done,
Right.
and
Which
we're just gonna have to bite that scene. That's
I always
fine.
get bummed out when that happens.
Yeah.
And
I can handle it as long as it's one scene.
especially someone like Brad Bird, who's usually so good at finding ways to very efficiently work that stuff into actual action.
Well, in the
or
first
comedy or drama
in the
rather
f-
than having someone explain shit.
in the first Incredibles, he does so much of that with the documentary talking head
Yeah,
stuff,
right.
which is sweaty in its own right, but you can also get away with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And this time he doesn't do that. He does this. Fine. Okay.
And also when like Syndrome is finally like explaining everything to him, monologuing to him, he also A, calls out the fact that he's monologuing, and B, is fighting him while it's going on.
Yes.
Like he's physically beating this guy up while he's explaining
But
why
you're right,
he
you know,
wants to get
Syndrome
revenge.
Syndrome does have that moment where he's like, you got me monologuing. So it's doing the kind of like
Right.
meta joke about him info dumping, you know, but look,
Yeah.
there's always going to be cute ways around this.
Right, but
Superhero movie, people explain their plans.
I'm like, this feels a little less elegant than what Brad Bird usually does.
well, you're a little less elegant.
Agreed.
All right. So Winston's like, I love superheroes. They would have saved my dad. That's why I love superheroes.
And Evelyn Dever, Evil Endeavor,
Great name.
yeah, is like, well, I never much liked them. No.
Well, no, she comes in and she's first presents as this sort of like wacky inventor because she's got all her like papers and stuff.
And she seems kind of hungover.
She's played by Catherine Keener, who has the greatest voice.
Just rules.
Just the greatest voice.
Yeah.
I mean, Bird casts so well voice-wise in
Yeah.
the Incredibles movies, particularly. Like,
Anytime Catherine Keener's in a movie, and then now we've crossed a new threshold with just her voice being in a movie.
voice.
I'm just like, this is the coolest lady alive, right? This is
Coolest
the
lady.
number one
but
coolest
you know who
lady
else
alive.
is in this movie? Holly Hunter, the other coolest
I know.
lady alive. It's crazy.
Who have such distinctive voices and such opposite voices.
And then Sarah Vowell.
I know.
Who's the cool?
Yeah. And then
Got
Sophia
great
Bush,
voice.
our third favorite.
Sure.
Fourth. I'm so sleep
I
deprived.
mean, I like Void. Void's cool.
Void's cool.
Void's
I wish Void feels like a character that was a little more weaved into the story at large in a previous draft. And
I
now
don't
exists
need
as a
more
remnant.
Void, but we'll get to the.
I'm not saying I need more of it, but it just feels like there was a version where she was more integral to the plot rather than just being someone who gets brainwashed later.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe Incredibles 3, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Because this is the other thing I want to say. In terms of not just Brad Bird saying, like, look, I like the pressure of losing a year,
Yeah.
knowing I had less time to crack everything. He said, I finally cracked Incredibles 2. I had 2 really strong ideas for what I wanted to do with the film. We started working, and about a year in, I realized it didn't work.
Interesting. Sure.
So after waiting like 14 years, going like, I'm not going to do it until I have it, he felt like he had it. He started working on it, went like, actually, breaking this out as a story, it doesn't function, and started rewriting the whole thing then and there when the movie was already up on rails, had been announced, licensing deals were in place, what have you. And so I see a little bit of that in the movie.
Maybe I would imagine he just simplified. Like, that has
he
to be
makes
what
it
he
sound
did.
like he did a big change.
Sure. Okay. Well, what was it?
I also know
Give me the deets, bird.
he said, like, I think up until like a year and a half ago, Screenslaver was not a part of the movie at all. The movie was about artificial intelligence.
It sounds wild.
Yeah, which I
That
don't.
sounds like an Incredibles 3 idea, Brad.
Yeah.
Let's wait
which
on the
I don't know
AI
if
questions.
that means the Devers weren't in it at all, but it
I
sounds
don't
like
know.
certainly there was no physical manifestation of a villain like that.
Yeah.
The film was more about technology run amok in a very
That's a
literal
different
way.
movie. Right.
So, which makes me think he literally threw almost everything out.
Well,
It
but
sounds like the only thing that kept that stayed in place was the Bob Helen shift. He said he had two big concepts. It was the Bob Helen shift, Elastigirl taking the lead, Bob having to deal with the family, and then his big concept for what the superhero plotline was.
Right.
And it sounds like he threw all of that out about a year into development. Well, what then became a 3-year process rather than a 4-year process.
I don't know what happened, but if I were talking to him, I would say I feel like what he settled on was the right thing to settle on, which is like, you're making a movie about superhero legalization. So make the movie about the argument for the role of superheroes in society. If you want to make an AI run amok movie, Brad, I'm ready. I want your AI run amok movie, whatever the fuck wackiness that's going to be.
But also, maybe it wasn't a movie about superhero legalization at that point. I mean, this
That's
is just
fine. I'm just
speculation
saying he
here.
figured it out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, with the story, like, he may have literally just made it smaller, because the other thing where I know why he wants to not jump in time. He wants the baby.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know, and so
And
to do great baby stuff.
So he did the short Jack Attack, which was on the original DVD release of the film. I think it got nominated for an Oscar, maybe. Which is just the stuff we didn't see with Jack and the Babysitter, which is really fun. And I think that stuck in his brain of, oh, the family still doesn't know that Jack has powers.
Yeah,
Syndrome
right.
knows. The babysitter
He
knows.
intentionally makes it, because in the final thing, when he shows off to Syndrome, he's too far up. Right.
And I think that was the one comedic device he was like 100% passionate about towards making a sequel.
It did not get an Academy Award nomination.
Bummer.
Mike's New Car did. Maybe you're thinking of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
Which Mike's New Car, Fox.
Sure. Great car.
Yeah. That feels like that was always in place. And then he reverse engineered from there. Oh, it'd be fun if Bob was the one who had to take care of him.
Yeah, which again just seems logical.
Right.
To the
And so
flip.
that means it has to take place in the same time period. You don't want Jack any older. You don't want them having discovered the powers yet, all of that. You can see a version of this movie. A lot of people would have just gone, well, it gets legalized. There's no movie about them fighting legalization.
Yes, totally. You could
they
just do
win,
the second
they
movie
beat
as
Syndrome,
totally, right.
court of public opinion,
And maybe
convinces the politicians.
that's part of my argument. And I don't know about development. I'm just talking about the movie I see.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, and that feeds to me into the argument I'm making about, like, this is a movie that's about superheroes, and there's so many superheroes in our culture. Like, it's about superheroes in our culture, right? Because that's what Winston is like. Superheroes belong in our culture.
They're good for
because
people.
they're a force for good.
Yeah.
And Evelyn eventually, you know, when she's revealed, because at first she's more just like, I'm the tech lady.
Yeah.
Is like, superheroes are a convenience, and they don't, like, you know, they don't let people help themselves, right? Like, you know, that's and like my dad's dying because he's like, well, blah will save me, instead of like dealing with anything himself.
Right. So her argument is, my father invested too much in this idea of superheroes.
And it's like a gossamer.
It's a fantasy.
Exactly.
Right. It's a gossamer. Right.
It's like, she says convenient. There's the big moment in the movie is the Anthony Lane's boner moment.
Mm-hmm.
Their big convo about cynicism versus idealism, which we'll get to.
Right. But
first they make this pitch where it's like Elastigirl is going to be the hero.
I, at this moment in the film, go, okay, so they're both in on it. They're both going to be the bad guys.
Yeah.
Right? There's some weird, this is a ball and shell game that they're doing. In the same way, a thing I love about Syndrome in the first movie is he's like, I want to kill all the superheroes so that I can look like a superhero, because I'll be the only one who can solve my own problem.
Yes, yeah. He that's his concept, is it'll all be staged because then I look great.
He wants to win over the public.
Right.
And so he has to
But
create
he's
the
shitty at it. I mean,
he's bad at it.
He's
in
not
every
good
way.
at it, like, for even a second, because remember, his wristband gets knocked off and it all goes wrong.
So then this movie's getting so literal about the sort of like branding, PR relations of the whole thing. Where I'm like,
superheroes are being sold to us. They are brands,
and here they are. They're a big company. They're kind of creepy, like
they're
Elon Musk,
this weird,
type.
Industrial. Like they're like, what are they again? Like a telecommunications company,
right? But it's like no, but they want to help the public,
right? And you're like, okay, but it seems like a lot of decisions are just being made by two people.
And Odenkirk, who has always had a dark side, is playing so positive, so cheery, so boisterous in this that I'm like, they have to be setting up a heel turn.
Yeah.
Evelyn seems more jaded. I was like, maybe she's the misdirect.
Uh-huh.
My inclination is both of them are in on it. And somehow bringing superheroes to the forefront is going to help their bottom line, some cause that they have.
No, I get that. The second viewing is good for that because Winston's character makes much more sense. Winston's character felt deeper to me on the second viewing because
he felt a little thin for me on the first viewing, and I love Odenkirk.
He's so, like... It's like Bird is not making like Bird is criticizing his sweetness almost, where he's
like I like what I like. This stuff makes me feel good.
Yeah, like because he has that monologue where he's like, smell the flowers, like where he's a genuinely optimistic guy, and that is kind of his undoing. Like he can't see the bad side of anything.
And Evelyn talks about how he's like the great salesman. That's a question of like who has more value, the salesman or the inventor.
Yeah, that's the part of their sort of optimistic conversation. Right.
Which made me feel like, okay, he seems like he's devious in some way. Obviously, salesman we always think of as being slippery at the very least,
that's
kind of overly slick.
The Brad Bird flip.
But do you think the notion is that like he's such a good salesman just because he is kind of that infectious?
Exactly, right. He believes in it.
He's Billy Mitchell or whatever. He's just this guy who sells the passion for the thing. There is no dark side to him.
No.
There's a blind spot to him.
Blind spot. And that's what Screenslaver / Evelyn is thinking, where she says like, people believe what they're sold, and that's a weakness. And like superheroes are the ultimate version of that, where it's just like, here's a person who solves all your problems. And it's like over and over again in the movie. Like there's this, I wrote some things down. Like there's like this ad for like, so easy, even the man can do it. Like as he's like pulling something out of an oven, like right in the middle of a crucial scene. Like Bird keeps dropping all this shit in where he's like
bordering on RoboCop. Yeah.
Yes, totally. I'm trying to, there was another thing. They're both selling supers, right? But they both have these sort of blinkered points of view. And her blinkered point of view is like making them these like robotic monsters at the end of the movie.
He's trying to get into something about people not wanting to do the work anymore. Just trying to buy into
which feels like Brad Bird. Like,
do you know what's the thing I've been thinking about?
He's such an individualist. Even if he claims like bollocks, nonsense. Right. I've just made 6 movies about the power of the individual, but no, of course not. Like
a thing I've been thinking about a lot recently, which I think ties into both of these movies, because there's been so much conversation about like toxic fandom. Recently,
yes, right. And the first movie has that,
right? Because even like in the time
that's
between,
what Syndrome is. He's a toxic fan. I'm your biggest fan,
which is more clear now than when we recorded that episode in February.
It's true.
I feel like that's a shift of like a couple months where it's just like
because it's how possessive he is of his fandom,
and he obviously wasn't commenting on a thing that was as culturally obvious at the time, but he was commenting on an ideology that's tied into this sort of thing. And, which is
we always act like everything's the worst right now, but shit was bad then too. There were dicks back then too.
But what's the root of that thing is I think Joe Rowe did a Twitter thread about this.
Joanna
recently,
Robinson
has been doing some great work about fandom because she is a big fan herself. She's someone whose career is based on her fandom of certain things.
That is true, and also she has to deal with fan communities.
Yes. Yeah. But she was talking about, I believe it was her, and I'm not misattributing this.
It was either her or Anthony Laney.
One of the two. Yeah. She was saying boing.
Did she talk about like the popcorn going everywhere?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Projectile popcorn. She was saying that the thing that gets kind of dangerous is this idea of fandom being part of your identity.
Yes.
And I see the way that people talk about fandom now. Oh, I'm new to this fandom, right? When people are like, I just started watching The Flash. It's not that anymore. It's I'm new to the Flash fandom.
Right.
And it's like, I have joined this church. What are the things we believe in? What are our behaviors?
What are my options? Who's my ship here? Like, who's my favorite character? Who's my least favorite character?
Right. And it becomes part of your identity in a way that I think gets very dangerous. All three of us love shit, right? We are people who are fanatical about our things. We have our big, like, things that we fucking love and spend a lot of time looking into and thinking about and working on, working around and all of that. But even at my most obsessive moments, I've never felt that sort of like, this thing I love dictates what kind of person I need to be.
That is,
it's the
an easy
opposite.
mistake
It's
to make,
like
yeah.
these things I love reflect on things in my personality, which I'm seeing in these other things that I like. Not I need to reflect myself, reflect the fandom in what
You're
you
right.
get what I'm saying.
I do get what you're saying.
And I feel like that's a thing this movie is kind of grappling with, is this idea of like superheroes make it very easy to be like, oh, I'm a pro superhero person. Let's have superheroes. I like the costumes. All of that's great. The theme songs, and also they'll fix everything. I don't have to think about anything ever again.
Right.
Which, like, you see that
Which
even,
was her dad's undoing.
But you even see that with political ideology now, where it's not just like, I like this candidate. It's like, I am so deep in on this person.
That anything he does must be the right thing to do, or she, or whatever.
Right, which I think is where, like, toxic Bernie bros come from. It's like people got so into this idea that, like, no, this is the only honest one.
Right, yeah.
That then when weird shit started happening, it's like, then I have to attack the other candidates' fans.
It becomes very negative.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it becomes so personal.
Some people are like that about Bernie Sanders, and some people are like that about The Flash, like you're saying.
Right.
Oof.
And Evelyn Dever, it feels like at the beginning is just kind of like dismissive of like, don't buy into this fucking thing. We don't need this, right?
She talks about convenience and like the myth of it, you know, and then that's what Screenslaver is monologuing about in his big monologue. You know,
which I also,
you don't,
but then he's also,
you watch game shows, like, you know, like all that stuff.
You don't talk, you watch talk shows.
Yeah.
But I also, he's also talking about a sort of lack of engagement, which I guess is not doing the work. It's wanting to live a more removed life, like the blinders on, right?
Yeah.
But what I don't understand, and let's jump ahead towards the, you know,
sure, well,
not.
No. I mean,
cover
it's
this
not
stuff
even
in between.
hard. No, but we won't.
But this is my question to you, and I don't say this in a like, this is why the movie's bad. I'm like, I haven't cracked this yet.
Oh my god.
Swear to me.
Oh, hey, Bats.
Fuck.
Did your own bit.
Yep. This is a thing I couldn't crack watching. And I say this in the least cinema sins.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Explain to me why this isn't a
like what
hole.
there's a problem with her plan that you can't think around.
I don't understand why this is the course of action she takes.
But okay.
Is letting her brother get the superhero things off the ground, creating a straw man, who's hypnotizing people.
Right.
In order to
she wants the superheroes on the biggest stage possible, right? Which is this big bill signing.
She wants to humiliate them the most public way.
It's not really humiliation. She's making them frightening. Like it's a narrative in and of itself, right? Like, because like they give these monologues where they're like, you know, for too long you have been mistreated us, and like it's a whole thing where
the
like
level of manipulation, though, it's so much. There's so many steps.
But that's her villain power, right? I mean, that's what she is. She's like an ad exec.
but here's my question to you, okay?
Yes.
They're already illegal.
Right.
At the moment the movie's starting, it's like, fuck, I guess we can't do this anymore. And all the superheroes are under threat of retirement. The only thing that gives them the courage to think they can do it again is Winston.
No, it's not Winston. People are already into it. They just rescued from like all the shit, the syndrome and the Underminer.
And then immediately we're like
back.
shut down.
Well, they're shut down by the government.
Right.
But like, all right, so again, one thing I want to put, like, so Bud Lucky has that crucial line to me about politicians don't understand people who do good things.
It's not Bud Lucky, it's Jonathan Banks.
Yeah, right. Bud Lucky's the dead guy.
Decker.
He's dead. He died. R.I.P.
Rick Decker.
Rip. More like Rip Decker. Okay.
Come on.
Ben's holding up a yellow.
Shut the card.
He's holding up a yellow
Just
card.
Got the fucking card out. And then not long after, you have this part where they're in the car going to Winston's fancy house, and you hear over the radio people saying, like, you know, Americans trust like Congress less than they trust a monkey with a, you know, dart or whatever, right? Like a monkey throwing darts. But at the end of the movie, they save the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
They arrest Evelyn.
Yeah.
What happens?
What happens?
What's the reaction to Evelyn being arrested from the film's best character? Violet says she's rich. She's just going to buy her way out of prison immediately.
That is
like this is a movie about like total distrust in like the institutions, right? And he's peppering it in right from the start. Pepper, pepper, pepper. It's good shit.
But here's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm
politically, I'm like, I don't know, Brad. Like, chill out. But I'm just saying, like,
also just
his vision.
A lot of ideas.
A lot of ideas.
Like, there are points in this movie.
First time I saw it, I was like, a lot of ideas. Second time I saw it, I was like, oh, this is unified. It makes much more sense to me.
This doesn't kill the movie for me.
Oh,
but there are points in the movie where I just felt a little bit of the Birdman thing, where it's like, oh, so characters are just going to speak in op-ed headlines?
Sure.
And you're just going to pepper in a lot of large notions that you're not necessarily
that's fair.
digging into?
That's a fair criticism. I mean, they definitely...
Birdman, for me, that's what drives me insane about that movie, where it's just one series.
But Birdman's just monologues, too. It's just like, ugh,
and none of the characters are characters.
None of the characters are characters.
Right. It's just like, so this is Uproxx fighting with...
Birdman is so bad. God. Name a character from Birdman, apart from Birdman.
Yeah.
Who's great, obviously. He's a
Mean Critic.
Mean Critic, stoned teenager.
That's so clearly the most embarrassing Best Picture winner of the last 15 years that when people say otherwise, it drives me insane.
Yeah.
I think Birdman's more embarrassing than Crash.
Crash is pretty bad.
I think...
Crash is like a stain on the nation.
I agree.
Birdman's just like a bad movie, right?
I find Birdman so much more arrogant than Crash, though. Crash is just like, this is so fucking naive.
What was the one? Was the old movie?
Oh, The Artist?
Yeah.
That one's not great either. There's a lot of black
that's just like a fucking Gentleman's Five. You're just
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The Artist,
okay.
you're like, yeah, I mean, I wasn't mad.
That's what I'm saying about The Artist. You're like, okay,
that's
fine.
what I'm saying. Birdman.
Good
at
dog,
least,
I guess.
I agree. I know.
Great dog.
I'm on board with you basically, but like, at least when I watch Birdman, not that I'm going to, I'll be like, it's well made. I like the score. The Crash isn't even well made. Like, Crash is just bad. It's like a TV movie. Yeah. It's just crazy.
It is crazy that Crash like almost went straight to DVD and then ended up winning Best Picture.
And like both fates are plausible.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, I do not sit there in the theater looking for plot holes or logic flaws.
Sure, no, I'm saying
I hate that kind of movie watcher.
No, I know you do. I know. I buy your argument. When she's doing this, you're just like, why is this her play?
Here's what I like out of movies, and I think Pixar especially has a very good track record of this.
At lining everything up very smoothly.
I like when they answer my questions before I've even asked them.
Sure. That's always a satisfying feeling.
Right. When it's just
movie,
like, oh, so now you've explained why that's not a plot possibility.
I get it.
Why this is the one way this movie has to go.
You're right.
Everything feels very inevitable and
She has
clean.
such an exaggerated power, which is that she can hypnotize people.
Right.
And there's so many directions to
and
point
also
that in.
outside of that, you go, she's incredibly smart and she can apparently create any technology. So this movie is focusing
it's all
on
broadcast technology. That's her thing. She makes the little cameras. She hacks into. It's always broadcast. That's her thing.
I'm saying her power is greater, as you said, in terms of her strategy, her technological ability. We're focusing in on this one thing she can do, which is insanely powerful. But also, she has even more power outside of that. And what I ask you is. Here's a question.
What I asks you is,
here's a question I wish the movie didn't make me have to ask.
Yeah.
Why doesn't she team up with the government?
I don't know. Maybe
because
she
has a common, that's an ally with a common enemy. So why instead does she let her brother go down this road and then just try to fight against her brother?
I mean,
or is it just chaos for chaos' sake? Then okay, that's a trope.
I see her.
I think they set her up that way.
She talks about how good her brother is at selling things,
right?
And I think she wants to harness that. She wants to get them on this big stage where she can sort of turn people against heroes forever. I don't know. I mean, that's my counter, but I get your point. I think
she just kind of like shrugs off her brother as like, he's whatever. If it was
good
like
salesman,
right? But I'm saying if it was like, I want to let him try to do this so I can not only embarrass superheroes but him,
right?
That would be one thing for me. I'm not saying that's the answer I want.
No, she's not.
But I'm saying like something like that. I would go like, well, that's why she has to do it this way.
No,
that's why she has to let her brother get the superheroes off the ground so that she can bring in a supervillain to beat him at his own game. Instead, I'm like, you have to hire hypnotize pizza boys to then present a public face so that
that stuff makes sense to me because that's her and Bird being like, this is all just like narrative. It's not. There's not ideology. Like, you know what I mean? Like your hero villain fights. I mean, that's what she said. That's what Screenslaver. He's so Screenslaver, who, by the way, looks super cool.
Yeah, looks cool. I wish he was visually on screen a little more.
People said that, but I was like, I mean, to me, I'm just like, he looks like a cool skull man.
Do you know what I honestly would have liked?
What?
I would have liked, and this gets into the Fantastic Four thing, a great device in the Fantastic Four is the Doombot thing,
Sure. Yep.
which is in there from, I think, his first appearance, where it's like Dr. Doom, who's a dude wearing this metal suit, has a lot of robots that look just like him.
Yes.
So a lot of times you'll be on an entire Fantastic Four adventure, and they're like, we finally got him. And they're like, God damn, it's another robot.
Yeah, that's his thing.
He was in his office the whole time.
right, and he's like, diplomatic community, bye-bye.
Right. And I kind of, once they set up the pizza boy thing, which when she beats him and it's that early in the movie, I was like, there's no way this is actually Screenslaver.
Right.
I was like, I would like it if she keeps on having to track down different Screenslavers. If you get to a sequence where we have 50 Screenslavers, you know?
Wow, you want a burly brawl.
Yeah, I want a Burly Man brawl. But I also just thought that was like a fun opportunity there that's not totally exploited. What was the other thing I was going to say about Screenslaver?
Cool.
He does look
strobe lights,
fucking
looks
cool.
fucking cool.
Oh yeah,
But
this
he's
movie is an epileptic seizure waiting to happen.
So great. I love that. When they had that big fight in the flashing lights room, I was like, I can't believe they let him do this. This is so crazy.
It looks amazing.
looks amazing.
It's pretty transcendent. It
Yes.
also is going to make people
Yeah,
vomit.
I was just surprised that they didn't have a warning. I mean,
Insane.
I know they do.
And now
They're now
Yeah.
doing it, but
it's
I was
kind of
just surprised
crazy
they didn't.
Disney, especially so overly
Weren't on top of
cautious
that.
with
Right.
anything. Yeah.
I know, but to me, Screenslaver, he's so comically evil looking. I love it. Like, it's all part of the gag.
So here's the thing that I kept on thinking about.
But
I know I'm
the
doing
real-
a lot of here's the thing.
The real, fear is, manipulation, right? Like how your narratives get shaped for you without you even realizing it.
I mean, that's smart. One profundity point. But I do think...
Seraph's a login screen. I mean,
Yeah. Fuck you. Don't put me through that again. I kept on thinking this feels a lot like a less concise, effective Trevor Slattery thing for me.
Oh, wait. Who's Trevor Slattery again?
Fake Mandarin.
Oh, I love that, though.
That's
my
why I'm
favorite.
bringing it up.
Oh.
Because you and I both recognize that Iron Man 3 is the best of the Marvel
Masterpiece.
movies. Don't at me. It's a masterpiece. The
Get
fact
at
that
me.
people hate it makes me insane.
Crazy.
But also, I feel like when people hate it, that's always the thing they bring up. They're
Yeah, but
like,
that's
I hate that
stupid.
the movie makes me invest in a fake villain for half the film,
That's stupid.
only to reveal Iron Man 3 spoilers, that he's actually just a media manipulation.
Right.
And I love that, like, when the movie's starting out, like,
I mean, that is a movie about the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
It's a movie where Don Cheadle is rebranded into this red, white, and blue superhero,
Yeah.
which is basically just like a shell game to kill the president. And like and the Mandarin,
is like a media creation
right?
by
But not
the
only
deep
that,
state.
he's
Like,
the most comical version of like that time's villain, which is like this sort of vaguely Middle Eastern hero villain with like who's like America is very bad,
right,
they
they
this
took
weird amalgamation of villains.
That's the thing. They
yeah.
took the Mandarin, who's like a horrible Fu Manchu,
Right.
like
in the
stereotype at this
comics,
point.
he's just like literally just like a red Chinese villain, right?
Right.
Like he's just like the other.
and
like,
instead they in the movie turn him into like a Joel Silver version of Osama bin Laden.
right, exactly.
Right? Which I'm watching and I'm like, okay, first of all, Ben Kingsley's swimming in the river of Ham.
Oh, boy,
this
is
fucking rules. I love the design of the character. I like the fact that they're keeping him in these videos.
Yes.
They're winding him up so much. What's it going to be like when they come face to face? And then the reveal of like, oh, that's all he is. He's literally a series of viral videos.
Right.
He's a piece of branding to sell this notion. But then I think
There's literally a complicated shit joke in the movie where he's
Right.
like, "Do not go in there."
Right.
It's great.
Which is the moment they should have gave Ben Kingsley the Oscar.
That's
They should
true.
have
They should have stopped the movie.
projector at the first screening and just handed him an honorary award.
Correct.
But I think the Killen thing really tracks in that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Killen is like cinematically the best villain ever, but you also totally get where he's coming from. I think it's a great rebuke of everything that sucks about Tony Stark. The
agree.
fact that they've made you buy into this franchise about a guy who's essentially an asshole,
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he fucked over everyone for like 20 years until he finally gained a conscience. But guess what? He also was like a war profiteer for decades before that.
Yeah. That's why the movie rules.
And also on
It's a great movie.
On a micro level, look at him just like fucking dunking on this nerd and thinking like, I'm so cool, I'm funny, I'm Robert Downey Jr., I can get away with it. And this guy held a grudge for 20 years.
Agreed. Which is why Iron Man 3 rules, and we'll do an episode on it one day. Want to mention
Yeah.
Space Force. Trump is militarizing space.
Yeah.
We need an Aloha sequel right now
Yeah.
that deals with this. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. This is a moment where like Reed Hastings could step up and upload all of Netflix into the
Yes.
Space Force
Just
satellite.
upload fucking that Sigur Rós song or whatever the fuck it is
Dun,
into the
dun,
satellite.
dun.
It blows up.
Yeah.
And then you fall in love with the white Asian lady, and it's great. Aloha to Aloha.
Right.
Ben, are you getting a card out of your eye? What are you doing? You're going to go
Pulled out a
crazy.
Yu-Gi-Oh card?
It's a Beyblade? He's not even in a card form anymore. Remember Beyblades?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
do I remember Beyblades? That's the most insulting thing you've ever
Sorry.
done towards me.
Sorry.
No, I'm starting to get a migraine.
Cool. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
We only have 4 more episodes.
You want to take a break?
No, just keep going.
I mean, you can walk out of the studios. Right?
No, I'm okay.
All right.
I find the decoy villain thing oftentimes frustrating in
I
films.
agree with that.
But Iron Man 3 is one of the examples where it doesn't deflate for me because I think what they're saying about propping
Griff,
up this fake villain is smart.
We got to get off Iron Man 3. We both agree on it.
Watch me build this bridge right now.
Boy.
And
He's drawing
killing
a bridge on.
remains satisfying, right?
Yeah.
I do find a gulf between Screenslaver as a fake media idea and Evelyn that I can't totally bridge.
I think it's a fair criticism. I
that
also
card down,
think.
I got out
I also
quickly.
think he keeps doing these movies where the villains are people, inventors, tech people
Yeah.
with no powers.
Yes.
And he does keep making these movies about these sort of individual rights of inherently gifted people,
Right.
where the villains are not. I mean, they're gifted with intellect or
Which
whatever.
you were getting into this argument on Twitter. Isn't it a little weird that in both of these movies the villains have been
That's what I'm saying.
non-superpowered
That's what I'm
people?
saying.
Right.
Will Goss brought that
Yeah.
up, and I was like,
Goss?
"It's fair." Goss, and I responded with like, "I do think it genuinely terrifies." It's the core thing with Evelyn and Syndrome is that they're amoral. They're not using their technology for anything but what they want, and they don't care about killing people. And that's the big showdown with Helen and Evelyn at the end. That's what they're fighting about.
Yeah.
But I think it would do him well to have like a supervillain, like a classic supervillain.
I think so too.
I don't know, maybe he just thinks too hard about this stuff and he always is like, well, but what if I add like this extra layer to it,
I would love to see him make an Incredibles 3 where they're not fighting a civilian creating a straw man identity.
Right.
I would like to see someone of equal power to the Incredibles with a combating ideology.
Yeah.
The scariness of what if someone has the same level of ability,
Yes.
is gifted and doesn't care,
Yeah.
or cares about the wrong thing, which is a basic superhero trope, but it's also like, look, he's deconstructed stuff enough. Our culture's deconstructed stuff enough that there's no reason not to just let Brad Bird do a better version of that. And in a certain way, that
agree.
feels more classical to just do that.
Now maybe we're gonna have to wait 14 more years for
I
him
know.
to make Incredibles 3. I have no idea, but
So let's talk about a couple set pieces in between,
okay. So yeah, I was gonna say
because we don't have to go through all the plot.
no, because here's what they do.
Everyone just saw the movie.
There's two parallel lines. So there's the Helen stuff and there's the Bob stuff. So the Helen stuff, the first set piece is the motorcycle set piece with the monorail that's going the wrong way.
Sure.
It's just rules.
Right. And the Elasticycle splits in half.
Fucking great.
Yeah, that's fucking cool.
The
This is
thing,
cool
my
movie
favorite
stuff.
moment is when she's driving on both sides of the tunnel over
it's
the train.
cool. Like,
it's
movies
so
are cool. I
no,
love
but
them.
these movies are. And also, it's like Elastigirl is endlessly fun in animation. You can do so much shit with her, with her body. You're sort of taciturn about this.
Please stop talking about her body that way. I also just love comedically the showcasing the new house sequence.
Sure.
Which is like just kind of feels like animation porn for a little bit.
Right.
And then the comedic game reveals itself, which is Dash now can't stop hitting buttons and the buttons are contrasting with each other. Like, well, of course, it's inconvenient to have like
water can just appear anywhere.
And also like furniture can rise up from the basement. Like,
yes, very fun.
When the couches are getting
the house of
crushed
the
in the
future.
water,
It's
love
very
it.
funny.
Yeah.
The other Helen stuff is her meeting these new superheroes.
The Void is the only one that is even given like a quarter of characterization. The rest of them are just kind of comedic types.
Right, but I'm into that.
Screech
is cool.
Yeah. Brick is kind of weird.
Brick is, I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Brick's fascinating.
Yeah. I have seen people online wondering if Brick is transphobic.
Interesting. I'd be interested to know who voiced Brick. I don't even know who voiced Brick.
I was looking in the end credits, and it was
couldn't
a
see
lot
name.
of just kind of like journeyman voice artists.
Yeah. But Phil Lamar, who
plays
does
two of them.
He's a classic. He does
right.
Electrics, who is the electricity guy,
Playboy sort of dude.
which
yeah.
I just like because visually I like
Uh-huh.
that. And then Crusher, who's funny.
Right.
The uncrush thing is
Right.
funny.
The void power, I think, is awesome. That bit where
Yeah,
she's
it's
throwing
so-
the coffee
oh,
cup
it's
is
so
great. She
good.
looks like Kristen Stewart. I wonder if they offered it to her.
Maybe. She also kind of looked like Katy Perry to me. She had a
The
real
hair
Katy Perry
color.
vibe.
I think facially she looks really Kristen
I think
Stewart.
facially you look like Kristen Stewart.
Boing. I wish I looked like
Reflux,
Kristen
who
Stewart.
is a real Griffin character.
Yeah, I was like so surprised by the fact that I wasn't like all in on Reflux. I had no problems, but I was like, oh man, I'm gonna fucking love this guy.
He barfs out lava.
Yeah, he's an old man. What'd they say? I can't tell if it's a disorder or a power,
Yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah, funny.
You decide.
A comedy point.
And then she has this big sequence with Screenslaver where she captures him in his house.
And he's Norm, a pizza delivery guy.
And and there's that cool shot of her like unlocking the doors, and you see him in the background, and my whole audience went like, ah.
Yeah,
And the strobes fighting sequence is cool.
fun stuff.
And then on the other side, you got Bob raising the kids. I mean, this is just kind of like home run stuff to me.
The
Like,
Bob
it's so much
stuff
fun.
Totally works
Yes,
for me.
it's so good.
Yeah.
It's deeply felt.
Yeah,
It's like heart stringy, like it's good,
right.
but it's also really funny.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
the Jack stuff is really funny. Like
yeah.
the raccoon sequence just feels like something where Bird is like, we can have so
The
much
raccoon
fun doing
sequence is
this.
amazing.
It's amazing. Like
Yeah.
the shot of him blowing up with flame, like and igniting all the
Now, can we talk
beach
about
chairs.
the thing that made me laugh incredibly hard during this movie, and no one else in my theater laughed at it. If they did, they just did like a huh, and I was like, had to take
You were
my
cracking
glasses
up.
off
Sure.
for like 30 seconds, being like, am I the only one?
Mm-hmm.
The Violet plotline is Decker has to brainwash.
Tony's forgotten about her because Decker erased his memory. Yeah.
Right, which Violet can't figure out at first. She just feels like he's being an asshole.
Yeah.
And I love the scene where Bob like comes in. He's so excited to like he started being a good dad.
Yeah.
He figured out the math thing.
Right.
He sees Violet and he can't break through to Violet.
Right.
And he can just tell she's hurt and he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And then Violet at some point pieces together
That
through an offhand comment that Bob
that's
makes.
why she figures it out.
Right. You know how many people we've had to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then just goes into total angst mode of just like, this thing that I didn't choose is now ruining my ability to be an old person, live my life, and do the things I want to do.
Sure. And I renounce superheroes.
Right.
The garbage, is that the bit that got you? That's funny.
It's when Bob thinks, I know how to solve this. We'll bring
Yeah. Well, this
the
is
family
my
to the
favorite
diner.
sequence in the movie.
Right. This is the key
It makes me laugh so much.
standout of the movie.
Which
for
is
me.
funny because it's less animation
Yes.
heavy.
Well, except for the one thing I'm going to say.
Sure.
It is so wrong-headed, and he is so confident going into that. This is
he has
like
the joke about like, oh, this is nice over by the philandra. I can't remember the rhododendrons or some
Yeah,
plants,
rhododendron, that's right.
whatever it is.
right, and he just thinks he's in line for a Dad of the Year award, right? And then Tony comes over to pour the water.
Yeah.
And when she notices him,
I know, it's so funny.
she shoots the water out of her nose.
I mean, we'll get a freeze frame of it. So like, her face is just hysterical.
This
People
will be
didn't
the
laugh at that?
only
It's
gif
so
I'll ever
fucking
use.
funny.
There was like a pop.
Yeah.
And I was laughing through to the next 15 lines of dialogue because this is also an animation thing I love where it's like, which I finally feel like CGI is getting to the point where it's exploiting. I feel like we lost this for a bit when we went to 3D animation as opposed to hand-drawn animation. The ability for a character based on circumstances or mood to completely change the shape of their head. So it's not just that like water shoots out to her nose; it's like her whole head like expands, and her eyes
and
get,
then
like,
when she's all
17
bleary
times-
eyed
yeah.
and she's like, well,
Right. Right. Like
What were you
her,
gonna say, Benny?
her entire chemistry changes in reaction to this thing. I was losing it.
Yep.
And I mean, Violet is the best.
She rules. I
greatest
renounce superheroes is really funny.
Yeah.
The costume
Yeah.
not being destroyed by the
Yeah.
garbage disposal. I renounce my renouncement is really funny.
Uh-huh.
She rules.
Agree?
All her cool force field shit is great.
Yeah.
I love Bob with the baby.
Yeah.
I just love that whole arc.
Right.
I know some friends with young kids who said it was chillingly realistic.
Yeah.
Jack is hilarious.
Uh-huh.
He's a star.
I'm with all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I assumed you were. I mean, this stuff is, like I said, it's just sort of home run. Like, it may be easier for the movie to nail it, but they nail it.
I've been sort of distracted a little bit. My apologies.
notice.
But did you talk about the sequence with baby getting like dropped off
Oh,
we haven't talked about Edna
Right.
yet.
Well, so that's the Edna scene. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That is like one of the best moments in the movie, I think.
Really? You love the Edna scene. Well, you're really into fashion now.
I am into fashion.
Yeah.
Did you not like the Edna scene feels more fan servicey because it's like just all the stuff we love from Edna.
I was going to say, there was a little bit of that. I like all the Jack Jack stuff that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Jack mirroring Edna when he's
Jack
walking
Jack
down the
mirroring
hallway.
Edna is the part that rules. When he grows the little wig.
No, but not even that. When she's walking down the hallway,
Oh,
and he's walking with
he's got the lollipop.
that fucking rules.
All his powers are good. I was so happy that there were powers I didn't know about. You know what I mean? Like the teleporting and the multiplication and all that. I love that shit.
Even the other dimensions.
That's so funny.
And like sort of how they explain it really cleanly with the monitor.
Yeah.
And like I love
the metaphors of all
that.
that. Like that's where the parenting metaphor is translating the most in this movie.
Sure.
You know, like that. Like,
you have to learn how your kid works.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And like they do things that like seem irrational. Right.
Yeah. It does feel a little bit to me though, like you already have. Okay, so her superhero suit. Because I'm watching, I'm like, how are they going to work Edna into this again?
Sure.
Obviously, they can't make a sequel without her.
Well, I do. Right. The gag that Elastigirl has this dark and gritty suit.
Right. So
and
they didn't go
Edna's
to
like,
Edna. Yeah.
Garbaggio.
Right.
Yeah.
They say that line. I was like, so is she going to come back angry at the suit thing? Is she going to show up at their doorstep like irate? Like, what's the thing? Because Edna, in addition to being just like a funny device, it's like the damage control from Marvel. It's like, oh, who does make the suits?
Right. Yes.
Like good fucking Brad Bird bit, well characterized. What the fuck am I talking about?
Calm down.
But then also the fact that she's the one who like gives the motivational speech to Helen.
Right.
It's such a good like
You
Brad
are
Bird
gods.
use every part of the buffalo. Like don't establish something.
And you're saying in this one she's good.
It feels a little bit like Crush the Turtle being in Finding Dory.
Well, it's
where
not
I'm
that
just
bad.
like, it's not as bad. I think the sequence is fun, but I'm also like, it's a little sweaty that
You're
his
saying
solution
Edna-
is Edna figures out parenting.
You know, sometimes your friends got to help you out.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
Got to learn to be a dad. His big breakthrough of being a dad, though, is when he talks to Violet. That's
Yes.
the nicest moment, you know, where he's like,
I
I'm just
agree.
trying to be
She
a good
lets him
dad. And
sleep.
she's like, yeah, you are. You're super.
Violet's such a good kid.
5 heartwarming points.
It was weird. I was very keenly aware, like when the first one came out, I was like the same age as Violet.
Yeah.
And watching this one now, I'm like, oh, she's a child. And it's not like I haven't watched
Yes,
the
of
original
course.
Incredibles
No,
since
I
I was a kid, but I also watch it and think about like, well, I saw this when I was 14. I remember how I related to this character. And now I'm like,
Well, also, she is more together, though. You know, she's no longer the hair in the face
oh, she's got the
emo
headband
kid.
now.
Right. She's got the
Yeah.
headband.
She, as Toy Reinger
great.
says, she's different now. She seemed confident. What's holding up a card?
Yeah, no, we're almost done.
Too long.
Fair.
Boom.
Fair criticism.
Yeah.
That's both of us, I guess.
You both
of us
get
got
yellow
it.
cards.
Yellow
Okay,
card.
fine.
All right. And so there's this sequence where Frozone rescues them.
Well, because Bob figures out. Why does Bob go after Helen again?
Bob gets the Screenslaver sets Bob up to be hypnotized by Helen,
Right.
but he goes off and he
but I'm
says, "Frozone, watch the kids." Like, you know, he's basically told Helen's in trouble.
Oh, right.
So he goes
right.
off to rescue Helen, and obviously, you know, that's not actually what happened. Is Frozone watch the kids?
Yeah.
Where's my super suit? ASAP. Frozone comes in, gets to do some cool Frozone stuff, which I was happy about.
Do you know who plays Honey,
I don't.
Frozone's wife?
Who?
The head of HR at
Kimberly
Pixar.
Adair Clark. Hey, man, she's funny.
They just got someone from the HR department who now gets residuals
Good for
on The
her.
Incredibles and the video games.
Probably is like a SAG card.
Yeah, it must fucking rule.
Yeah, good for her. But don't you? I just because in the first movie, Frozone, super cool.
Yeah.
Does have this moment where he like makes a wall of snow and the machine just goes through it, and you're kind of like, is
Okay.
Frozone shitty? like, and this he like I like his like ice blasts and
Yeah, he's got
stuff.
some
Like
powerful
he's
shit.
fun fighting all those guys.
Yeah.
Then he gets hypnotized. They escape in the car.
And you know
Car
what else I
stuff is
like?
fun.
Showing you he's a good superhero. He knows that he's not going to be able to beat this.
Right.
So
he
his
lets them
priority
escape.
is
Yes. Yeah.
giving Jack and Violet all the information they need to know of how to be able to escape from
Right.
him.
And like putting them into the car,
recognize the voice.
giving them the voice ID.
I mean, they set up the car thing earlier in the movie with the collector. I like it driving out while the guy has the date.
And him hiding behind the date. It's funny.
Yeah.
Brad Bird doesn't like rich people.
Right. So
guess. I don't
then you get into this thing where it's like Jack, Dash, and Violet realize, or rather, Violet and Dash realize they need to save the day. And they have Jack Jack as their secret weapon.
Right. And there's the whole boat sequence. And this is, to me, this is just Brad Bird, where he's like, bang, bang, bang. This is great.
But this almost feels like an entire Incredibles thematic idea in and of itself, which is parents wrestling with
letting their kids be independent and make decisions.
Do you want them to follow you in what you did?
Yes, sure. But that's the thing. Like,
but it just becomes a final act.
At the start, he's like, we need to let our kids choose, and this is what they want to do.
Right.
And it's great. They rescue their parents.
This then becomes like one of 5 or 6 thematic ideas, that are integrated into plot rather than everything is,
Yeah.
The sort of like Aristotle's poetics, cleanness of Ratatouille and Incredibles, where it's like everything is on theme. We know what our themes are. Even the things that feel tangential actually line up.
Yeah.
This is we got a lot of stuff going, which I'd rather too much than too little.
Yeah.
But it's also he set such a high standard for himself.
He did. I do. This all does sing for me. I think it's so fun.
The final boat sequence I didn't find as exciting as the rest of them. I didn't find it unexciting, but I was just the end syndrome on the android sequence, which is much smaller in scope.
Much smaller.
It's contained essentially within one city street because they probably could only afford to render that one city street. Much like the first Avengers, it's geographically, it's very small.
Yeah.
They're kind of fighting
it's great. I love the syndrome thing.
But I just find the stakes of it very easy to follow.
Yeah.
It's very exciting in how the story has built up to that point and the rules of how they fight, how they stop these things, what the weaknesses are. This just started feeling like a lot of stuff to me. And it's stuff that he's executing all really well. But it's I was just sort of going oh, so this is the point where everything...
It's the sophomore curse.
A little bit hard to beat,
Kind of.
I mean, come on. It's hard to beat a movie like The Incredibles.
I'm sort of mapping
just hard.
it to music, right? With bands that have this successful debut.
Now you can do anything.
Now you can do anything, and then it's just too many ideas.
Agreed.
And someone else wants to start writing a song now,
Yeah.
and it just becomes a mishmash of ideas, and it's not
elemental.
Yeah.
Right. Which none of these things mean the movie is bad. These are arguments for why the movie is not a masterpiece in my eyes. It's this is why it's only
it's so good.
I think you'll an exemplary piece of animation rather than being a perfect piece of art.
I kind of agree with David that maybe seeing it a few more times, it's so dense.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It is so dense. I know I miss stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's also taken me 35 viewings to respect everything going on in the first Incredibles this much. I'm holding it to an unrealistic standard because I'm but it doesn't immediately register for me in the way that The Incredibles has registered after 14 years of thought.
Yeah.
I recognize that. But this final boat sequence I thought was fine. Didn't do a tremendous amount for me.
I would watch.
Nice burp, 5 burp points.
I would like to know what you think about it the second time.
I like honestly, talking about it right now makes me want to go see it again tonight.
So good.
I'll probably see it this weekend.
But I do think
I'll see it in 4DX. I'll see.
Yeah, see it in fucking HDX.
Yeah.
But I do think, there are these crucial exchanges between Elastigirl and Evelyn that are sort of the core of their philosophical, Bird is basically saying, in my opinion, the heroes are going to exist.
Yeah.
And, what makes Elastigirl, et cetera, a superhero is that she is an ethical person. She wants to do good. She has a code that she
follows. And that's
follows.
the end all be all for her. It's not an ego stroke in the way it kind of is for Bob.
Right. I mean, no, he's not saying Bob's bad, but he's basically just sort of saying
yes,
this is what's crucial to their existence.
I'm not saying it's solely an ego stroke for Bob,
I know.
But he gets some juice off of that in a way that Helen doesn't as much. I mean, I love that moment when
Helen loves to be good at it. When she calls him that broadcast news moment, and she's talking about how great she did stopping the train and running him through it.
Right. And then Bob says, what if Needy was sexy? You think you can do these things, Nemo, but you can't.
He says both of those things, it's horribly incongruous.
Yeah, yes.
It's a disaster.
And inappropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Lane might have been onto something.
Boing.
No, but yes, that is great. And it also, the thing I liked about that moment was I was like, well, wouldn't Bob already know about it? And it was no, because this is the 60s. You find out about things when you watch the nightly news or read the paper in the morning.
On.
I'm it's been an hour since she stopped the monorail. Wouldn't he know? And it's oh, right, no, the world used to be better. Also worse, whatever. Who cares? Everything's bad. Everything's good. I don't know.
But at the end, when Evelyn is locked up, Violet's saying, she's just going to get away with it. And
I like that Violet
which is
finds a
classics.
contemporary in Void.
yes, definitely.
I just thought they were going to do more with Void in terms of making Helen aware of that sort of impact she had, which they only do in the one scene. The idea that Helen wasn't just saving people in terms of actually saving people, but saving people in terms of giving people a sense of meaning in their life by seeing themselves in her.
Yeah. Wait, I had. As Evelyn's being locked up, she says, "Just because you got me doesn't, mean you're right or whatever."
Right.
And Helen's like, "Yeah, but it does mean you're alive." And for her, it does feel like Helen's like, "Look, I feel like satisfied by this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be triumphant over you. Like, I know I did the right thing." Because there's that moment where Void's like, save yourself when Helen's falling and and then finally, and she doesn't. And so Void has to do it, help her out.
Cool.
But that's, exactly. That's superhero shit, man. That's the magic.
Yeah.
Elastigirl is helping Void realize some shit. I'm doing like
I need to see it another time.
an arc with my hand right now.
It just, it's also like I played all the like Incredibles video games they made. They made an Underminer game that was a sequel. Mark Waid wrote a comic for a little bit. There were all these sort of supplemental, like, I guess he's never going to make a sequel, so we'll do other stories kind of things. And I was like, okay, this is fun, like, the animated series, Saturday morning, non-canonical, like, adventures. But I'm waiting for the definitive Brad Bird, like, this is the sequel. The only sequel he could have made.
Sure.
And this didn't feel like that to me. And perhaps, once again, unrealistic expectations I'm throwing onto this thing.
Hard to beat number one.
Also, I'll probably see it 15 more times over the course of the next decade. So let's see where I stand there.
Proud of you.
Merchandise Spotlight. I swear this will be short, Ben. I didn't even bring it in, so we don't even have to do a fucking demonstration or anything.
Okay.
I just think this is a very clever item.
Okay.
That I can't believe they didn't think of for the first one. They have a toy called the Elasta Arm.
Okay.
That is like one of those old boxing glove extension things.
I loved those.
So it's like the grip, which has the sort of like crisscross hinge kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Elastigirl's fist at the end of it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can punch someone
That's great.
across the room.
That's great.
I'm into that.
Right, that rules.
When I was a kid,
That's
I loved
fucking
those.
cool.
Remember those things also? There was like claws.
Yes, the robot claws.
Loved those.
Love those.
There was like my favorite thing to like modify my body. Like if
Yeah.
I was playing with a friend, I could be the villain. I had like a claw hand.
If I was a
Ruled.
kid and I had that toy, I would immediately punch my smaller friend in the face.
You would have been a disaster with this toy. You would have caused so much damage.
Oh, and I would have definitely hid and then hit my dad in the nuts. For sure.
God, what a nightmare. Why didn't they just like throw you in a valley, let you die?
They
Great
did. It was
question.
called New Jersey.
Yeah, they did. It's true. Box office.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing about this thing.
Sure.
Because I like...
I also think the final scene with Tony's really cute. The date's really cute.
Oh, I love it.
Love it.
And then
Love
and the sequel
family
kind of
being
ends the same
embarrassing.
way.
It's so sweet. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
As the first one. The thing... Where they're all playing the mask on. She's like, wait! First!
Also, Isabella Rossellini.
As the ambassador.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like when they make merchandise for movies that are like the hands of the characters. We'll talk about this in a future episode, but that whole subgenre of merchandise I really like. When the first Johan Griffith Fantastic Four came out, they tried to come up with a Mr. Fantastic toy like that. That was just like, it's a hand and then it can just reach out further. But you can't really like grab stuff like a claw.
So, right.
And I just think this is so much simpler. And it's
punch.
like, yeah, you just want to punch people. Like you want to punch your dad in the nuts. Paint it red. Put a black glove on it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Done. Best toy ever. I'm rating Toys R Us's going out of business sales for these.
Box office game.
Yes.
The Incredibles 2 opened. Number one.
Right. So let's see if I can guess the other movies in the box office that came out.
What was the weekend gross?
182?
Correct. $182.6 million. Highest animated gross opening ever.
By a wide margin.
Like by like 50 million.
Yeah.
I think Finding Dory was
135,
135, something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Uh-huh.
It's a film that is number 2 at the box office. Come on.
Number
You
2,
need a
so it
hint?
was whatever was number 1 the week before, which is not Deadpool 2. It's the thing. Oh,
number 5.
Ocean's 8.
A film that you will be getting checks for.
I probably will get more money for Ocean's 8 than most things I have ever worked on.
Real exciting.
Yeah.
So Ocean's 8 has made now $78 million in 2 weeks. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's going to make an easy 100.
Yeah, easy breezy 100.
I think it'll sort of end up in that Ready Player One territory.
where
Except
it makes costing a third as much.
Cost less, but won't make as much worldwide, would be my guess.
I think it's going to do pretty well.
Yeah, but not like Ready Player One.
No.
Ready Player One did insane worldwide.
Yeah.
Number 3 is a film I saw that soon we will recognize never existed. It's just sort of ready to not exist.
It's ready to not exist.
It's just a movie where you're like, Jesus, and he was in it? That's a movie?
So it's got good acting.
It's about this? Are you sure that was a movie? That wasn't like some dumb idea you
Why
had?
am I not even thinking about
It's based
this?
on a true story.
Oh, Tag.
Tag.
Yeah.
It's about a game of tag, Ben.
You know what? You just proved your point because already that movie doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Does not. Have you seen it?
It's not a true story. We swear. I have not seen it.
Are you going to see it?
Probably watch it on an airplane. That's exactly the kind of movie I like watching on airplanes.
It's just not what I wanted, which was fun.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's just not so good.
So it's sort of like the idea of playing tag with friends over 20 years. Tedious.
Well, and also I wanted the
Occasionally
movie to be
satisfying,
because
but
the
mostly
movie
tedious.
is immediately you're just like, this is so fucked up. They're
Yeah.
crazy. These people need an intervention.
Was it Yoshida who wrote the review about like, I wish this movie acknowledged how sad this is?
I think I kind of did. She might have. I just that's what it is. And
Their
then
entire
sometimes
life
it
is
does.
sacrificed for this
It
thing.
does
Yeah.
acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of pulls back from it. And then at the end it tries to totally have its
Does it
cake
have like a
and eat it
big
too,
twist, like in terms of
has
it
a
making
really
a jarring,
fucking
dramatic shift?
annoying twist. Yes, which I won't spoil.
Renner's
Online.
skin, he can't touch it.
Yes, exactly. He's made of acid.
Yeah, he's got boy in the bowl.
Renner
disease.
is weird in this movie. Renner is so weird in this movie that you're like, is Jeremy Renner a psychopath?
Is it the kind of performance that someone who is in constant pain from 2 freshly broken arms
Maybe.
might give?
I don't know.
What if he was just on painkillers the entire
He
movie?
might be. He's a little zoned out. Number 4, it's made $193 million. It's the biggest flop of the year. Solo.
How weird.
It's like the Justice League of this year.
I know.
Where you're like, but it made money. Yeah, well.
Yeah, I get that it cost way too much because, like Justice League, it was shot 2 times. But also, it is bizarre that we live in a world where it's like $100 million opening weekend. It's a disaster.
Right.
$200 million final gross. A calamity.
It's true.
Like, that used to be like the number one movie of what? 1986 was 3 Men and a Baby, which did like 160 million.
Sure. It's a long time ago, though.
Yeah, I know.
Superfly is number 6. Deadpool 2 is number 5. Did you see it?
I have not seen it yet, and Deadpool will not stop calling me and taking me to task for not having seen it yet.
That's his bit. Hereditary. Did you see Hereditary?
I have. I love it. I think it fucks. Do you not like it?
No, I like it. I just don't. I'm sick of you
Oh,
saying
hey.
the things fuck.
Can I pitch my ending for Hereditary?
Please. Yeah. Have
You
you
saw
seen it?
Hereditary, right? We talked about it.
Yeah, we talked
What's your ending
about
for
it.
Hereditary? Is it could be a Hereditary?
Oh, he
spoiler?
had a good bit.
So I was
Sure,
thinking,
spoilers for Hereditary.
Really?
I think so. I mean, he's talking about the ending.
I've kind of gotten a little more on board because I initially wasn't into the ending. Like,
Okay.
it just felt, I don't know. I would rather it be more grounded and not be like this whole like elaborate.
Right. Ben
sort
didn't
of,
like
Okay, so real
the turn
spoilers.
towards the
Thing.
supernatural.
I like that
at
it
the
goes
end.
bug nuts at the end because it shows so much control up until that point.
right.
That's fine. That's a good argument.
Well,
I like Hereditary. I feel like I'm in the middle.
I think a big improvement would be all right. So you see what happened, right? He
Speaking vague. Yeah.
He becomes this thing,
Sure.
and then the camera sort of pulls out, and it sort of gets all like glassy, and then you see you're in the devil's lair, and he's like,
And this was all one of the devil's snow globes?
yeah,
Ben
you know?
pitched this to me when we were doing pickups the other week, and I was amused.
That sounds great. I'll say Hereditary, I think one of the best in Congress end credits needle drops in recent history.
Oh, yeah.
People try that game a lot, the lime and the coconut at the end of like fucking Reservoir Dogs.
I like that.
And so often I'm like, okay, a little too winky. Playing both sides now at the end of Hereditary, I thought I found genuinely amusing.
I agree. I like that. Yeah. Okay. So we're done. Book club. You saw Book Club?
Yeah, fucks.
Jesus.
That one does fuck.
All right,
I'll say this.
yellow card.
Okay,
Good call.
fine.
Good call. Thank you.
Remember
That
when I
was
thought I was going to get
inappropriate.
0 cards?
Oh boy. Fool.
I saw Book Club with Bromley and my mother. I tweeted this, but Romley, who bragged on a Ratatouille episode that she never cries during movies,
Right.
was drawn to tears by the Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again trailer.
Which is a bad trailer.
yeah, and
that
it wasn't
does not
performative.
Make me go to tears. Right.
I went like, you're going to see that, right? And I looked over at Romley and she literally had tears in her face, and she was trying to wipe them away.
Right.
But the thing I was going to say is, you know how everyone was complaining about how dark Solo is, and we were talking about how much we liked the cinematography and being like, if you're saying you can't see the movie, come on, grow up. The projection for book club was so dark that it looked like Solo, where I can't imagine how bad Solo looks if you saw it in those circumstances.
Yes.
Like book club, it's like I'm throwing $17 down in the barrel so I can see the brightest, most flatly lit Diane
that
Keaton,
movie was
Mary
shot by
Steenburgen.
my grandma,
Right.
who is dead.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right. And my screening of book club looked like Hereditary. It was
What
so
a disaster.
fucking dark.
Thank you. It's all pastels and white.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of shadows in this film.
We're done.
Okay, great. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Ann Fergudo for our social media. Pat Reynolds and Joe Bowen for our artwork. Go to blinkiesatred.com for some real nerdy shit. And as always, Cars 2 makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1.
But also, what's coming next?
Here's a twist. Bonus episode.
Yes.
Next week, we will be starting our next miniseries.
Yep, we're
which
going right into it.
Is the films of Ang Lee.
We're just going to admit it. We lied before when we said we'd never do him.
And that's part of our devilish charm.
Wait, what's the devil saying right now?
Next week, Pushing Hands and The Wedding Banquet. We combined his first two movies because most people haven't seen Pushing Hands.
Pushing Hands is fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. The rest of them are great.
Yeah. But get ready. We're going through it. We finally get to talk about the Hulk. My friend, Mr. Hulk. Johnny T. Hulk. So tune in for that. But just a couple days from now, we will be releasing a bonus episode on Brad Bird's Family Dog.
Yeah.
His American...
Won't be too long. Not going to be too long, right? The episode.
No.
Okay.
It's going to be 15 minutes long. But this is experimenting a way to bring back the bonus episodes of literally doing them as like a midweek, little shorter drop thing to be able to throw out our in summation thoughts on the filmmaker. Ben?
And stay tuned because we have some burger reports.
Some burgs.
And also, stay tuned because Cars 2 makes Cars 3 look like Bye. Thank you for calling the Burger Report hotline.
802-8-BURGER.
Please leave a message with your FAMO, type of burger, and location, and we will try to put it on the podcast if we can.
That's 802-8-BURGER.
In Beverly Hills, I was working at a hotel, shooting there, and I saw the happy man himself, Pharrell Williams, walk in with a crew of gentlemen, and it seemed like all of them ordered the burger, and I happened to also get that burger the same day. All right, that's it.
Hey guys, this is Danish from Chicago calling in with a burger report. About 10 years ago, I was on my way to work in downtown Chicago when I see a large man jaywalking across State Street while eating a pretty sizable burger with one hand. It was already a striking image, but then I saw it was none other than actor Mike Starr, probably best known for his role as the Gas Man from Dumb and Dumber, although he's been in hundreds of shows and movies including Miller's Crossing, Ed Wood, The Office, and Blank Check's very own Blue Steel. So some more notes on the burger. It was big, it was unwieldy, although he was handling it pretty well with his single hand. He had taken a couple bites out of it already. It was a little soggy. I could see some of the lettuce hanging out the sides. He had taken it to go because it was still wrapped in sort of a parchment paper tinfoil wrapping. From the looks of it, it was definitely not a chain like McDonald's or Burger King. It was heftier, meatier. I would have guessed Portillo's or Al's Beef, but those were all 4 blocks west, and he was coming from the east. However, there was a Weber Grill restaurant not too far back, so I think that's the safest bet. Anyway, that's my report. It was obviously a pretty impactful encounter, as I still remember it vividly this many years later. So I hope that helps. Thanks, guys, and keep up the great work.
Yes, I'd like to call in an Incredibles-related burger report. Years ago, I was working at a bar in Long Beach, California, and one Mr. Jason Lee, voice of Syndrome, came in He sat at a table and he ordered a blue cheeseburger. It was a rectangular shaped burger with blue cheese and bacon on it. Incredibly polite customer. Very, like I said, very nice. I saw him at an art show probably like a year later, and he remembered me. So just great guy. Had a burger with some fries, chilled down. Yeah, there we go. Jason Lee's he's a burger fan. That's all I can say.